requirements have been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. First, a quick announcement. Because it's Thursday, our Borough Attorney Wendy has another obligation on Thursdays, and we obviously moved it to this night because of this week's holiday. And Matthew Gilson from her firm is here to fill her shoes tonight. So thank you for being here, Matthew. Okay, wonderful. Well, we'll see how glad you are the next 2 hours.
It's 5 years.
Sorry. Okay, Beatrice. Hi, how are you tonight? So we're in the middle of celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. Oh, that's, my next sentence was going to be come right up. And I know that
So, good evening.
you were kind enough to put proclamations together.
Actually, before you started, it's okay.
Whose microphone?
No, I'm trying to fix the technology.
Technical problems.
Hold on one second.
Thanks.
What do we think it is?
Mute everyone?
You're mute everyone.
Six.
I think so.
We good? Okay. So Beatrice, thank you for yourself and the Spanish Club students for being here tonight.
Yes, I wanted to introduce them. So this is Erica Ruiz. She is one of our vice president.
Hello, Erica.
Welcome. Ruiz, her sister.
Hi, Jackie.
And her bishop, who is one of our Spanish Club members as well. The one thing, excuse me.
Yes.
Do you have the copy?
I have copies of it right here. Hold on one second. English and Spanish.
Like the flag? Sorry.
You can bend it down a little bit. There you go.
Hello. Whereas Hispanic Americans have enriched our social, intellectual, and artistic life in the United States of America, and whereas Hispanic Americans are the youngest and fastest growing segment of the United States of America, and the resident population of Hispanic Americans in Bureau of Tenafly has doubled in the last 10 years. And whereas during National Hispanic Heritage Month, the Bureau of Tenafly recognizes that Hispanic heritage is American heritage. And we see that that influence in almost every aspect of our lives. And whereas each year Americans observe National Hispanic Heritage Month by celebrating the histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors came from Mexico, Spain, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. And whereas what began in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week under President Johnson was expanded by President Reagan in 1988 to cover 30-day periods starting September 15th and ending October 15th. And whereas the days of September 15th is significant because it is the anniversary of independence for Latin American countries, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua. In addition, Mexico and Chile celebrate their independence days on September 16th and 18th, respectively. And whereas this year's theme, Unidos Inclusivity for a Stronger Nation, encourages us to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month to ensure that all voices are represented and welcomed to help build stronger communities and a stronger nation. And now, therefore, be it resolved that on this sixth day of October 2022, the Mayor and the Council of Bureau of Tenafly do hereby proclaim September 15th, October 15th, 2022, as Hispanic Heritage Month and encourage all residents and Bureau employees to celebrate our unique and vibrant history. We recommit ourselves to a shared future of healthy, peaceful, and safe and sustainable communities for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now in Spanish. So, considerando que los hispanoamericanos han enriquecido nuestra vida social, intelectual y artística en los Estados Unidos de América, y considerando que los hispanoamericanos son el segmento más joven y de más rápido crecimiento de los Estados Unidos de América, y que la población residente de hispanoamericanos en el municipio de Tenafly se ha duplicado en los últimos 10 años, y por cuanto durante el Mes Nacional de la Herencia Hispana el municipio de Tenafly reconoce que la herencia hispana es la herencia estadounidense, y vemos esta influencia en casi todos los aspectos de nuestras vidas. Y considerando que cada año los estadounidenses celebran el Mes Nacional de la Herencia Hispana, celebrando las historias, culturas y contribuciones de los ciudadanos estadounidenses cuyos antepasados vinieron de México, España, el Caribe y América Central y del Sur. Y considerando que lo que comenzó en 1968 como la Semana de la Herencia Hispana bajo el presidente Johnson fue ampliado por el presidente Reagan en 1988 para cubrir un periodo de 30 días que comienza el 15 de septiembre y termina el 15 de octubre. Y considerando que el día 15 de septiembre es significativo porque es el aniversario de la independencia de los países latinoamericanos, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras y Nicaragua. Además, México y Chile celebran sus días de independencia el 16 y el 18 de septiembre, respectivamente, y considerando que el tema de este año, Unidos, Inclusividad para una nación más fuerte, nos anima a celebrar la herencia hispana, nos alienta a garantizar que todas las voces estén representadas y sean bienvenidas para ayudar a construir comunidades más fuertes y una nación más fuerte. Y ahora, por lo tanto, se resuelve que en este día, 6 de octubre de 2022, el alcalde y el consejo del municipio de Tenafly proclamen por la presente 15 de septiembre al 15 de octubre de 2022 como el mes de la herencia hispana, y animan a todos los residentes y empleados del municipio a celebrar nuestra historia única y vibrante, y nos comprometemos nuevamente con un futuro compartido de comunidades saludables, pacíficas, seguras y sostenibles para todos.
Thank you very much. So I'm just going to ad-lib something here. This past summer, my family and I had the pleasure, we went to Mexico on a family vacation for the first time, and we were in Puerto Vallarta. And my son and I went to, we were walking and we came across a Mexican Naval Museum, which is right near the beach in Puerto Vallarta. And it was interesting going through the museum and seeing the similarities of, Mexican history and American history. Yeah, the Mexicans, just like the Americans, threw off the colonial, masters sort of things. They had their civil wars just like we did, their industrial revolution. And my son and I found it very educational. So we appreciate you coming here, and we thank you for your time and great work.
Just want to say thank you to the mayor and to the council. We really appreciate this, and I'm really proud that I was able to have our students come, and it's a really big moment for them. It's very important for them to be recognized for the community, and on their behalf, I would say thank you to you all.
Wait, don't leave. I want to get a picture of everyone. And then, Ms. Martinez, with your permission, I'd like to ask if your family wants to come up and join for a picture. They're here. Okay. Right, good smiles.
What's your name? Alba? Beautiful.
Okay. Ready? Right here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you
Good
for
job.
being here tonight.
And thank you for having this in our schools and in our community.
I'd like to say thank you for having us. And second, I'd like to say thank you for recognizing Hispanics in your community, Tenafly. I moved here when I was in 4th grade, and it was lovely to see that you guys respect the Hispanics here in your community, and I really enjoy living here. Thank you.
What elementary school did you go to?
Mom school.
Okay.
Yeah. We're all split, don't worry.
What grade are you in now? 10th grade. Yeah, great. And how about you two? What grades? Right. They're good schools. Of course they are. They're great. Yes.
What grade are you in now?
Very nice. Very nice.
Stressful year.
Great. All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate your energy. All right. Have a good evening. All right. So the next item on the agenda is millennial strategies. And, pardon me?
It's, yeah, done.
Millennial strategies. And Omar, they're with us online. Bernadette McPherson, are you there? There you are.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor. Good evening,
I
Council.
think we,
Thank you so much.
how are you doing?
Very good, thank you. Thank you so much for giving us this.
Good, good. So, of course. So I want to set the prompt just a little bit. So if we can spend about 10 minutes on this or so, and, talk to us about what you do with the grant opportunities, how it works, the different options for doing it. And I'm sure council will have some questions and we'll go from there.
Yes, Mayor, thanks again, and good evening to you and to the council members and the members of the public, both watching at home and present. I'm very honored to be here on behalf of Millennium Strategy, along with my colleague Peter Blanos is on the line to talk a little bit more about some provide to the borough of Tenafly in terms of providing some additional resources for grant funding and alternative sources of funding. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Peter Blanos to talk a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Bernadette, and good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Pete Blanos. I'm the Director of Business Development at Millennium Strategies. So Millennium Strategies, we are a full-service grants consulting firm. We've been in operation since 2005 now, so a little over 17 years, working to provide grant consulting services on behalf of local government agencies. At present, we work with over 120 local governments throughout the region, which includes New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. The majority of our clients are located within the state of New Jersey. I would say somewhere around 90 or so. In Bergen County, we have a very strong presence. We work with about 30 municipalities in the county at present, as well as serving as the grants consultant on behalf of the county of Bergen. What we do is we seek to basically go out and identify and apply for funding across all sources. So on the governmental side, that includes federal grants, state grants, and county grants. And on the private sector side, that includes corporate and philanthropic grants. In addition, we also look to take a holistic approach in terms of the types of grants that we pursue. So we're not focused on one particular area, say parks and recreation or police and fire. We really take a full holistic approach from anything from roads, parks, police, fire, health and human services, historic preservation, sustainability, water and sewer. If there's a grant out there that's available and our clients are potentially eligible to take advantage of it, we're actively researching those programs and we're actively looking to pursue them on behalf of the clients that we represent. Been extremely successful in our pursuit of funding on behalf of our clients. We have well north of $1 billion in funding secured. Last year alone, we brought in about 175 million on behalf of the agencies that we work with. So we are very successful. We are a singularly focused firm, so we don't employ any engineers or planners or lobbyists. There's 35 of us on staff, and we are strictly focused on grant programs. Before I'd like to next talk a little bit about the services that we offer and explain those briefly. Before I do, are there any questions?
Questions from council members at this point? Go ahead, Julie.
Yeah, so you mentioned how you actually find the opportunities as well. Is that, and pardon me if you're going to go into it, but does a town or a group you work with, do we just say we're interested in a certain type of project and then you kind of take the ball and run with it? Or do you come to us and then we consider what's out there?
That's a great question. And it's actually going to segue right into my next piece. So I'll just jump right into it. So as far as the services that we offer, they basically fall into three core areas, with the first being our grant research. So we have a team on staff composed of 5 individuals who work 40 hours a week to go out and find these opportunities. They find them using a variety of sources, from online listings to email notification systems to our own existing connections with funding agencies that are out there. Once we identify the available opportunities, we then do the deep dive into the programs. So we take these notice of funding opportunities, or these RFPs that are issued by the funding agencies, and we do the research into them. So those can be anywhere from 40 to 50-page documents. And what we do is we pull out the need to know information that our clients need in order to make a keen, informed decision about whether a grant is viable for pursuit. And then we basically put those into memos, which we in turn present to our full staff internally each week, and then in turn present those opportunities to our clients for their consideration. Now, those those grants that we present may align directly with some of your priorities. Some may not directly align with your priorities. However, they could fill a need that might not be, again, a top priority, but might be a need that you identify once you find out there's a grant that's out there for it. So the grants we're presenting, they're relevant. We're not looking to flood your inbox with white noise, but we do, we do take a very targeted approach in making sure that the types of grants that we present are relevant. So in addition to our grant research, we also offer grant writing. So once a grant has been presented, we would then basically quarterback the process, going after the funding on your behalf. So once it's been presented, a project is identified, and you've given us the green light, we can then move forward with basically pursuing it. So convening project stakeholders, gathering necessary data, working with your either internal or external professionals like engineers or planners, drafting narratives, resolutions, letters of support, and ultimately preparing packaging and filing those applications in a timely fashion prior to the deadline. And lastly, in addition to writing the grants, when a grant is potentially awarded, we would then move forward with, if necessary, and if you felt it was something that you needed assistance with, helping you to administer that grant. So helping you execute grant agreements, helping you file your programmatic and financial reports, and then ultimately assisting with submitting any closeout packages and reimbursement claims, so that you can, successfully close out your grant and receive any funds that may be owed to you. So it's sort of a cradle to grave approach that we try to take in terms of the services we offer. The models that towns can work through are different, but at that point, I think I'll just leave it at that. I won't go too much into detail on that, but any questions?
Yep, Councilwoman Dayton, please.
First of all, thank you for being here tonight. So we have worked with some grant writers in the past, including our engineering firm. And I've seen some of our grants and they're pretty thorough, yet we lose out consistently to other communities. How would you make us competitive, especially given that you represent, at least here in Bergen County, 30 of our competitors?
Absolutely. So what we do is this, I sort of touched on it earlier. We are singularly focused in this space. So we eat, breathe, sleep, talk grants. That is literally all we do. 40 hours, 5 days a week, 40 hours a week. That is all we're doing. So I would say our team has a deep knowledge and a deep understanding of the programs. In addition to that, the research team that we employ allows us to stay ahead of the curve in terms of how programs are evolving over time. So a lot of the times what happens is there's a grant that's available annually, and an agency might apply for it one year after another, but they find that they're getting stuck. And what they may be missing is that the program priorities and the parameters of those grants are evolving. I can say at the federal levels, there's some good examples of it. Whenever there's a new presidential administration that comes into control, a lot of the program priorities also shift depending on what the priorities of that administration are. A lot of the times that might not get picked up though, by an organization who isn't constantly studying and analyzing these programs. So I think that gives us a little bit of an advantage. We understand the priorities. In addition, I think we just understand government very well. We don't, as I mentioned, we work with over 120 towns and counties and boards of ed. That's our sole client base. We don't work with any private sector entities. We don't work with any other types of agencies. We work and live and breathe local government. So we understand the needs, we understand the challenges that the organizations face, and I think that's kind of what also gives us a distinct advantage is we understand the mechanics of what goes into local government. And I like to think we have a lot of good writers too on staff who are very capable of conveying a strong message and making a strong case as to why our clients should receive funding.
Jeff, please.
First of all, Peter, thank you very much for the presentation, for being here. Very interesting. Since you have 120 towns, I think there's a variation on Councilmember Dayton's question, variation on it, in that we are a slightly higher income town, average income than many others. And what's your experience in the communities that you've represented? How many are similar to Tenafly in terms of socioeconomic status? And what's the success rate getting grants for towns like that?
Absolutely. So we work with communities of all sizes and profiles, several, from everywhere from the major urban centers like Jersey City, Patterson, Newark, Trenton, down to the smaller, more suburban, rural communities throughout the, Bergen County, Passaic County, Essex County. I could provide one example of a client that we've worked with a long time, Woodcliff Lake. A few others, the Borough of Closter, Borough of Franklin Lakes. There's many that we've worked with, many that we've had a lot of success with. Our service models that we offer to the communities that would be considered more affluent, whether it's upper middle class or upper class, that don't have as many socioeconomic or other challenges. We sort of tailor the model in terms of what we offer to best fit the needs of that type of an organization. I can say our success, though, has been across the board for many of those communities. We've secured funding from both governmental and non-governmental agencies on their behalf. And we certainly would be happy to provide examples of grants and in our success working on behalf of some of those other communities, how we've aided in their efforts, after the fact through written correspondence as well.
If I could just add to propose for Tenafly would be a grant service, which is both affordable as well as meeting the needs of your particular community as you talk about your demographics. So Peter will talk a little bit more about the affordability part of it is, and the efficiency part of it is that you're never going to see that you're not eligible. Peter mentioned those inboxes that your emails might be getting that show you all different types of grants from the state government. You'll wade through it only to find that I may not be eligible for. So our grant research portal, which I know the mayor and your administrator are familiar with, that seems to us to be the best service model for us to follow your needs and your concerns about, the fact that we represent so many of your fellow communities. We do, and I think that the grants research allowing sources that you can't hear you right. It's-
Bernadette,
Bernadette,
you're
you're
breaking up a
breaking
little
up.
Yeah,
bit.
Bernadette, your microphone is.
Well, I can assure you what I said was really brilliant. So I hope you can hear me. Peter, if you could talk a
The
little.
recovery.
Yeah, I'll just tie up with a little bit what Bernadette was alluding to. One last thing I would say is that, our team, we take a professional approach to every application that we write. Our number one goal is to put every one of our clients, regardless of size, profile, in the best possible spotlight. Making sure that not only you're submitting a proposal for a project that's eligible, but that you're also checking every box, and we're checking every box in the application. We don't miss anything, and that your applications are submitted in a timely and presentable fashion for review and strong consideration by any funding agency. We know your time is valuable. We certainly don't want, and these grants, they're a time-consuming process. So, preparing these applications. So we don't want to waste anyone's time. We want to be efficient and effective on behalf of the agencies we work with.
Adam, you had a question, please?
Okay, I think it was mostly. I think we should be realistic, as fellow council people have said, because I've been a huge proponent of grants. I know that there are other places that are more deserving of it. I did get re-inspired last year with the COVID money that, because those were grants that, agnostic of anything, however they split it up the map, everyone in the entire state, entire country, got COVID money. I guess my specific question would be, are there other grants like that that are sort of need blind, for lack of a better word, that, I think of the library stuff, that I think of money. So I don't know, are there other need blind type grants, or the COVID type grants are, once in a generation?
Absolutely. We're seeing really and kind of an unprecedented level in terms of investment, particularly at the federal level. I know we've all heard of the infrastructure bill that was passed last year. In addition, now there was the Inflation Reduction Act, which was passed this year, which covers a lot of different areas in terms of energy and environmental protection and other areas. So there's a lot of funding that's coming from the top, and it's being sent down. In addition, there's also congressional appropriations, which were reauthorized for the first time last year in over a decade, which is a little bit different than these funding authorizations that you've heard a lot about over the last couple years. But basically what we're seeing is that a lot of those monies are coming down from the federal government. And what they're doing is the federal government usually doesn't just provide funding to every individual municipality. There's just too many of them. So what they'll do is they'll give the states the allocation and tell them to administer it. So we're seeing a lot of new programs pop up at the state level. We're also seeing a lot of existing programs see their funding authorizations be increased. There's more funding available through existing programs, as well as new funding sources that we're seeing pop up through new programs. A lot of those programs are not means tested in any way. So there's no sort of socioeconomic qualifying criteria. You don't have to be a community with, X amount of poverty rate. They're basically merit-based. It's how good is your project? Does your project align with the parameters of the program? If there's matching requirements, is a town able to, committed to providing X amount of matching funds? There's some parameters like that, but for the most part, I would say most are more merit-based upon the quality of the project and how well it aligns with the program versus the means-tested ones, which are more focused on things like socioeconomic issues or crime or other things like that.
I would just love to, tell council people, I totally get the history looking at these grants. I truly believe we're at a very unique time right now where there's, as the team's been saying, very some could argue there's too much money out there. And they're usually not, they're sort of need blind. So it's just a little bit different than I think we're used to, and we just have to learn. Maybe it's worse. I think it's just different.
I mean, because there's a lot of money out there.
Because there's a lot of money, it's just different money, right? It's not, you know, community that needs something, you know, let's make sure that they have, you know, whatever. It's just everywhere. Like we know some of our commissioners have reached out to us, right? Like pleading with us to literally create fully loaded, like they even give you the salt and pepper type food pantries. It's not normally like that.
Right.
It's just different.
Other questions?
Yeah, and I think navigating those programs too, not to jump in, but you know, navigating through something like congressional appropriations, it sounds as easy as just submitting a request to your congressperson or to your senator, but you have to actually align those programs with federal spending, like certain federal agencies, and those spending bills have criteria that are set for them. So to just say, "Oh, we're just going to submit an appropriations request to our congressperson or our senator," and then, you know, it doesn't get approved, and then you're surprised, there is a little bit more to it than that. And that's something we're heavily invested in. Like I said, our research team is studying these programs. We have deep knowledge on them, and our staff are well-versed in how to help our clients actually navigate through these new programs, as well as the existing ones as they evolve over time.
Okay, Vanu, you have a question, and then Lauren.
Yeah. Thank you for coming and the presentation. I had a question, you know, I was thinking along the same lines as Councilwoman Dayton and, you know, the question that she had asked. But I didn't kind of hear the answer in a way. And it's basically that, you know, as she said, we have competitors in other towns. How are you, so if there's a particular grant and there are 5 towns that you think maybe within your, you know, grouping that you have, that you think may be eligible for it, how do you determine, you know, who to apply for? And, you know, do you apply for all 5 and see what comes back? You know, how do you do that?
Sure, absolutely. So every town is unique, right? And every grant opportunity in and of itself is also unique. So if we were to take a grant and present it to 5 towns, I would say there's probably a chance that 1 or 2 of those towns might just right off the bat say, we don't have a project, or we don't have the matching funds for this, or we don't have, you know, our priorities don't necessarily align to it. So oftentimes some might fall off right off the bat. From there, you might have 3 that say, yeah, we want to move forward with it. We're going to help those 3, whether it's 3 or 4 or even all 5. If all 5 say, hey, we want to go for this, we're going to give them equal focus. We are going to help navigate them through the program the same way. We are going to work the same fashion to help align their requests with the priorities of the programs. And then ultimately, we are going to work in the same fashion to deliver the same high-quality product on behalf of each agency. Now, sometimes we might have an instance where there's a grant that becomes available, and there's one client who that grant is a strong priority for. They've done a lot of the legwork. They've done engineering plans. They've done community surveys. They've done a lot of pre-planning that aligns with that program. You might have another client who says, this is an interesting grant. It's something that we're focused on, but they haven't necessarily done that same level of planning. We're going to still work to put forth that same quality application on behalf of both of them. Now, the one who did the pre-planning and had a little bit more of the legwork done in advance may score more favorably just in the eyes of the reviewers. But we're going to do everything we can to make this a strong case for both of those proposals to try and push them both over the finish line and obviously make them successful award-winning grants. So
Okay,
I don't know
Lauren.
if that directly answers the question.
Oh, wait.
I think it did. Go ahead. Any other questions from council members? So what's the next step here to educate us on the cost, the different options for doing this sort of thing that I imagine you would need to send to us offline and the council would need to review it and talk about it?
Sure, absolutely. So we can prepare a proposal, Mayor, for our, the service model we'd propose and the pricing. And then if you would like, we can do offline with either a council designee and the administrator, or if there's grants committee you have or something to that effect on the council, happy to have a meeting with them to go through the portal itself, show them how the technology works, and then answer any additional questions.
So typically what we would do is you would communicate with Jimmy, the borough administrator, and then, he'll share all that information with all the council members. And then we'll be able to talk about it as a team, at a upcoming meeting.
Mayor, I would,
Understood.
or any follow-up questions, both Peter and I would be happy to answer those. By call or by email. I don't know if my microphone's.
Right, that's. Okay, no, that's fine. No, we got that crackled message. Council members will communicate through Jimmy, myself, I'll go through Jimmy. And that's so we have a single point of communication to make sure all of us over here get the same information at the same time.
Absolutely. Happy to do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Happy to do that.
All right, wonderful. Well, we appreciate your time tonight and connect with Jimmy and we'll go from there.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Crowded agenda.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time. Have a good evening.
So.
Okay.
Can I ask a question that's not for them, but for us?
Yeah.
I thought we were under a contract currently with Colliers for grant writing.
It's à la carte. So if we engage them, they would give us the proposal per the specific grant.
Wait, do you remember Mazer, when it was Mazer, they came with us with those sheets, those charts about all the possible grants? But wasn't that a grant writing service? We had asked them to give us all eligible grants and like this chart thing. Remember this?
Sure.
Yes, and it had all various things, we wanted a fire truck. Here's all the possible fire truck grants. We wanted, whatever it was. Where did that service go?
I could ask.
Not that any?
Yeah, we certainly, let's ask Andy that,
I don't know if it was that specific, but there was a chart.
One of my views of this sort of thing that we have to consider, or we should consider, is this is a professional grant writing service and this is all they do. Another organization that has a main line of business, but also does grants, it's a different emphasis.
I just want to be realistic. I still don't think we're winning a fire truck. I just want to be realistic. We are still competing against communities with a less healthy budget. I just want to be, identifying on those type of grants. I'm with you on the federal and the appropriations.
We're not gonna win.
Right, we just lost our senior van. We didn't get our fire truck.
But they're-
Opportunities, correct.
Yeah, we do. The other thing I think is very important, we've spoken about this before, and I'm sure it's on the action list that we've moved, is we were supposed to get some group together
American Rescue.
to figure out the grant stuff. The other thing I think is that it has to be done in advance. With the fire truck, I think the week before we did the fire truck, hey, let's see if there's some
No,
grants.
we applied for that years ago, a full grant. I'm just saying, on the fire truck.
More than once.
Yes, yes.
So I think we just need also the time to do it, that we know we need a basket weaver 3 years from now. Let's start now.
Okay, so the next steps with this, Jimmy's going to communicate with the Millennial Group and get back to the council with data and information about how the program actually works.
And I just want to say one more thing, so the council is informed of this. I'm the liaison to the Northern Valley Greenway. The Northern Valley Greenway has been petitioning for federal appropriations, state appropriations for many years now, without luck. So, understand Tenafly's name is attached to that. And with that is a certain connotation, like you can afford it, which is a shame because we can't. So.
Well, go ahead, Jeff.
No, do you want?
Done,
No, I'm not,
made the point.
right, you made the point, but I'm not sure what to say about the Northern Valley Greenway, and that doesn't translate into we can't do something if we choose to, right?
But I'm just saying, you know, even on that level, when we're
Right.
talking about congressional appropriations, we also need to be realistic.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I would say just at the same time that talking to Millennium Strategies, they mentioned Closter, Woodcliff Lake. Specifically, I would just see what their experience is at the same time.
I also would like a comparison of maybe another outside company. This is a very nice pitch. I'd like to see comparison on costs, on
Mhm.
whatever else, you know, might be the next biggest, whatever it is.
Okay, no problem.
It's the concept of discussion, that's the important part to start with. That's where we are. Okay, anyone else on that topic? Okay, so let's move on to Recreation Department update, Jimmy.
Yes, we have Jamie Cannon, the director on the line, to give an update on the Recreation Services Department as requested.
Hi, Jamie.
Hi, everyone.
How are you tonight?
Good. How are you?
Good.
So I sent everyone over just
So
a
what do you got for
report.
us here?
It's basically a layout, a report on the teen center and the recreation department. So since we last spoke, the recreation department took over the teen center, which I have to say has been quite a seamless transition. We're enjoying it really very much, and it's been wonderful with the great support staff that we have. So I just wanted to let everyone know I think it's going smoothly and we're having a good time over there.
Jamie, can I actually say something on that? So
Sure.
I'm a middle school parent now, and the kids in COVID, they never got their cottage party and introduction. A lot of families, at least that I know in my little circle, they never even heard of it. I keep telling everyone, go check it out. Can we maybe put some sort of public information or more, something in the next blast that explains what the teen center is and the rules of the in and out?
Sure. We actually, on the new ideas, I do have a tour of the center, which I would really like to do 4 times a year. So, in addition to the cottage party, which I believe that the school did do, I would also like parents to have a day quarterly to come into the center and be able to see what we offer. Right now, we're collecting a database of basically emails. This way, we could contact the parents and let them know what's going on, especially events like this. And this is something we do want to put through the school, the blackboard, and things like that. So we will put something through the school once we kind of organize these tours of the center.
Or maybe an open house as well, something that just shows the space and people can pop in.
Absolutely. We're doing some renovations over there. We're doing some upgrades. So once that's completed, which should be, I would say, in the next 2 months, I would love to have a big open house so they could see the new updates in the center.
Great.
Great.
Okay, go ahead with this report.
So we started with the teen center with summer camp, which went really well. We had 45 campers and we had an array of field trips. We had 150 registrations on those field trips. Some new additions to the camp this year. I had the state license the camp and inspect the camp as well. We had a special event calendar. So we had pizza days, ice cream days. They used the town pool for the first time. They were able to utilize our pool facility. We did some arts and creativity projects, which they loved. It was really great. We had an end of the season barbecue. They were invited to do all those activities. So I think we really brought a lot to the summer camp this year. And I really think the kids, it was well received with them.
Fabulous.
Can I ask,
So-
the summer camp director, sorry,
Right.
Jamie, was the summer camp director, did that person stay on for the summer and oversee it? How did that work?
So we had 3 people on staff. We met the state ratio requirements. We had a head director, which was involved in the camp for the past I think 4 years. We did have an assistant director, and he was part of the camp for 2 years. And then we hired somebody else as well. That was like a head camp counselor. So we had 3 people on staff, and they worked just the camp hours in the 6 weeks.
Go ahead, Jamie.
So the teen center running in general, we just hired somebody with the help of HR and Alicia. We hired somebody on September 26th to fill our second vacant part-time position. So now we have 2 part-time assistants in the center. We have
fill our
upcoming
field maintenance position?
Uh, the field maintenance position was filled as well in the recreation department. The part-time position. So both of our new employees are doing really well. So let's hope. They're doing really well. We enjoy them. They're really nice. The kids like Denise in the teen center. We have EHOB that is assisting Rob Spina doing all of our supervisory things, and we're getting much more done. And we're able to do things in the teen center as well. So it's been really helpful.
Go ahead,
So-
Banu has a question.
Yeah.
Jamie, hold on,
Jamie,
Banu has a question.
Vanu.
just wondering, how do you feel things have changed from the way it was functioning prior to recreation taking over the teen center versus now? Is it pretty much the same, or have there been improvements? And if there have been improvements, what do you feel has improved? Or is it still kind of in that, period of we're trying to feel it out?
So we're definitely transitioning. Like I said, we added all those new additions to the summer camp. Right now, our sign-in system, we make sure now the kids are writing their email addresses. We're getting the grades of the kids, their full names, so we can get a database. The teen center never had a
I
full
see that.
database. So that's what we're trying to.
I was just wondering how does it compare to what it was before?
So I think now that we took it over, we're opening it up to more events. I have a list of new ideas that we're going to bring to the center. We're going to keep the integrity of the center, but we're going to add these special events. Like we have a Halloween party that we're doing. The kids are really excited to have a party in the teen center, and we're just going to try some different things. Little one-night events, pop-up events, seasonal things. So I think that makes it much different than it was before, but keeping the same integrity of the center.
That's fantastic, by the way. I'm a mom of a teen. I love this.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jamie.
So the new ideas that you see here, we've been kind of collecting suggestions from the kids. It's trial and error. We don't think everything's going to work. But right now we opened registration for the Halloween party 6 days ago. We have 10 kids registered. We're probably going to get 30, 40 kids, which is great, enough where the center can hold them. And I think it's just something fun that they could do. We're charging $10. It's like a pizza party. So we're able to bring some new things for the kids to do on holidays or, on time off that they have.
Okay.
So like I said, we're doing some center renovations. We're painting existing furniture to kind of save money. We're going to be we need new couches in the center. We do have budget money from last year. So we will be ordering 2 new couches, and we'll be doing some cosmetic things in there with the help of our site supervisors. And we're going to update the center to Wi-Fi printers. We're going to make sure they're technologically up to date as well.
Go ahead.
So I think that's, so the future of the center, we want to collect a database. We want to try events and programs. We want to do marketing. So we want to make sure we can reach everybody so they know what's going on. And what I did want to speak about is the center is open Monday through Saturday. I have center participation numbers, which we've been collecting the data. As you could see, Saturday is not super popular. We have 135 kids that attended the center over 26 weeks. So I'd like to ask
So
the council is if they can extend Friday hours, because that's our most popular day where the staff says they kind of have to ask kids to leave. I was wondering if we could extend Fridays and not do Saturdays for the center.
The question for you, on Saturdays, do
Mhm.
the kids that come there, are they there before lunchtime, after lunchtime, or it's, I know for the snacks, but do they have this, do they have the Snickers bars at 10 a.m. or 2 p.m.? Let me ask the question the right way.
So I feel like mostly by what we're seeing is they're coming in at 12 o'clock, grabbing snacks, they leave. So we're averaging about 0 to 5 kids on a Saturday, but they're just grabbing a drink or snacks.
So you're proposing to close on Saturday because the numbers are so low and increase the hours on Fridays till 9 o'clock?
So yeah, 9 o'clock, they could have 100 kids come in and they don't
that.
want to leave. So I'd rather keep the center open when it's a popular day, and Friday, they have a ton of kids come in on Fridays.
Does anybody have any questions? Council members have issues with that?
I don't have an issue. I think it's a great suggestion and a good job. If it's 9 o'clock as opposed to 7 o'clock, I don't know, would there have to be thought put into protocols for picking these kids up? Because especially winter, you're talking, it's dark, it's late. I don't know what you're doing now at 7, just like bye-bye, go home, walk or whatever, but 9 is a little different for handling that. I think it's a great suggestion. And the devil's always in the details. And I don't even
Right.
need an answer to that, just
Okay.
something to think about.
Yeah. Our staff is really good. They sit with the kids, and most of the kids that leave late are picked up. So that was one thing that they were telling me, that the kids are picked up when they're there late. So I don't think their parents are telling them to walk home. And that's been over the 26-week span.
So it sounds like the council's in favor of the Saturday closing and staying open till 9 o'clock on Friday. You just got to make sure you have safety protocols in place and work that through with Jimmy.
Thank you. And the staff, I spoke with them and they agree with this. So that's great. Thank you.
And who does? What? Say that again?
The staff agrees
Oh,
with
okay,
it.
great.
I asked them if it would be okay if
Okay.
we did that, and they were all for it.
Okay, great. Lauren has a question.
Jamie, one of the reasons I think we had initially kept Saturday open was for working parents possibly. So if you know of any families that are either working parents or their kids are, coming for any food insecurity issues or anything, maybe just keep an eye out, let us know, maybe give them an extra snack on Friday, something. But I just want to make sure as we close the Saturday that it doesn't affect families who are relying on that and have no options.
Okay.
That's all.
No, I understand. And they're really good there with, if the kid needs something to eat, they let them pay them back, or, they're very good like that. They take an IOU. Sometimes they pay, sometimes they don't, but they're very aware and very caring with situations like that.
Good.
Okay. All right, go ahead. What else would you like to tell us?
So that's basically everything for the teen center. In the next month, come visit us. We're gonna have a lot of new things. It's decorated for Halloween. I think it's definitely kind of stepped up a notch. Mark did an amazing job with that center. We're just gonna keep expanding on it. That's all we're doing.
Yes, Lauren.
If you're done with the teen center, can I switch us to the field usage, if that's
Sure.
okay? I know you and I had discussed Alpine's field, and it looks like now we're not playing on that. But they're
Right.
using our sunny side for soccer. So can you just fill us in on what's happening there with those discussions?
So Alpine has 2 DPW workers and they can't keep up with the field. So what we're doing is we're giving the fields a break for this season. They need the grass to grow, they need to seed it. So they asked us to give it a break and see what it looks like next season. So right now, TUSC is utilizing Sunnyside, which they never did really on the weekends. And they're utilizing it hand in hand with Tenafly Junior Soccer. So that's working out really well. So Alpine is working on the situations with the fields. And I'm in contact with Amy Lerner, which is the liaison for Alpine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Adam, you have a question?
Thank you, Jamie. Thanks so much for putting all this together for us. You know, I'll continue to say it's good timing as we begin the budgeting process for next year. It looks like everything that I did, it looks like continue to grow, which is exactly what you aspire to as the council. Our participation in youth activities, the fields aren't getting any bigger or more. So I think it's something as we go into budgeting time, as we think about grant opportunities. I remember Lauren sent something out on, you know, X or something, or building fields for everybody or rentals. I think it's just something we have to do because it doesn't happen overnight. So make it up. We start talking about this year. It's going to take next year's to do it. The other thing, and I'm sure everyone took the time to read the beautiful audit report that we have. It's great stuff. Thank you to Susan and the team. You see the growth of trust funds, which is, again, a good thing. Start spending some of it for our, so I'd love us to start to think about that.
Can I ask Jamie another question?
Ask Jamie one more
As we look
question.
Forward with Adam's, you know, I agree, we need to talk about, you know, facilities and fields at all times. Basketball season, I know that we are always searching for indoor court space. I'm going to ask the same question for Alpine, the use of their indoor courts or any other community that maybe we can share.
So I'm looking at, in the past, I heard that we used Elizabeth Morrow Gym. I don't know, I reached out to their athletic director to see if we can get some time there in any way. And we also used to use Mount Carmel. I know that they have their own programs in there, but I'm in contact with them to see what kind of hours we can get, and hopefully they can get more time in the schools this year. So I'm working with Joe Crollo, the AD at the high school, to see how we can work the schedule out, because basketball numbers are growing. As you know, everything's growing. And it, like Adam said, it's a good problem that we have here. So I'm doing my best to be in contact to see if there's more facilities we can use.
Great.
Jeff, you have a question?
Yeah, so question about what the plan is for the tennis courts, because I saw there was a sign up about charging and having a fee, and that sign-up's there. So I'm a little unsure where that's heading, and also I do know that some people said they went to sign up and at least 3 of the 7 courts are reserved pretty much all weekend for lessons. So what is the overall plan here, especially vis-a-vis charging?
So we do have a tennis membership. And what that does for you is you can reserve tennis courts. It is extremely popular and the residents like it a lot. Our numbers have gone up very high with memberships, and it just reserves you a court. The only issue we have is that the courts are open and they're being used by mostly non-residents or tennis pros. So we do have an issue with our courts being used by, unfortunately, not Tenafly residents. But our
So the
our tennis
membership that you're
membership,
talking about,
we have a tennis membership. You can purchase a membership. and it just gets you reserved court time. But regular, you can use the courts as a Tenafly resident, but you just can't reserve a tennis court.
And what are the rules for the pros?
They can do a pro packet with us, which is a pro membership, and they can only teach Tenafly residents. So they would have to disclose their client list to us. But we're having a lot of issues with out-of-town pros just making, money on our tennis courts. So we're just trying to come up with
so
a
the out of-
way how we can change that.
Wait a minute, I've got a question. Hold on, so are the out-of-towners just showing up and playing, or?
So we
Right.
have an answer for this.
Yeah.
If you remember,
Yeah.
joint use about 800 or 900 years ago, Jamie brought because I did all this good work, joint use to say, let's work on these locks. I'm not exaggerating.
So
Right.
is this as simple as a lock situation? That's it?
So we were
I
looking.
truthfully would,
Yeah.
I would hate to lock our residents out. Like, I've gone there at 7 in the morning with my girls and hit balls. I don't want to be locked out of my own community court, so
All you have to do is sign up though.
You have to pay a membership fee, not just
It's-
sign up, you have to pay a fee.
I find that.
Then
I-
is there
I
a
don't
court fee time? Is there a fee for using the court?
No,
pay my
it's
taxes to get those
just, it's a
courts.
very low fee. It's $100 for a family, 50 for adults for the entire season.
Wait, hold on, one at a time. Hold
I
on,
could,
Jamie.
you guys are going back and forth,
Yeah.
she's saying the numbers.
One at a time. So go ahead, Jamie.
It's $100 for a family membership for the entire season. It's $50 for an adult membership. And then it's $25 for a junior membership and a senior membership for the entire season. So we keep it really cost effective. We want the residents
So-
to use the courts, but they're not able to use the courts because we have non-residents utilizing our facilities.
So how do other towns police the courts?
They have locks on them.
And so
Not
what
all-
do we do
not all
then? We
towns,
would
but-
open them,
Yeah.
so we would open them up at a particular time in the morning and then lock them at a particular time at night? And then so if we open them up just arbitrarily, let's say it's 7 AM or 6 AM, and someone from another town comes there, how do we police that?
The idea is that
So we would put a 4-digit combo that all the members would receive on
Oh,
the tennis gates.
I think as a member of, I think as a Tenafly resident, you get the combo. I don't want to pay for that combo. I actually find it a little offensive that I need a membership to my community courts.
Back it up,
Okay,
back
go
up.
ahead, Dan.
If we took open space money for it, we can't lock it up or charge money for it.
Can
It's
I,
gotta, it's just like the basketball court.
Has to be open for all.
Okay, so
Space money from outside.
Let's focus on Dan's point for a second. So you're saying if we took open,
It still has to be open. Mawa got sued, they lost.
okay, so
Can't lock it
before
up,
we-
we can't charge.
Before we have a
We gotta
whole,
double check this.
so before we spend a half an hour discussing locks or not, let's find out
Yeah.
whether legally we're allowed to do if that's a
We gotta
problem.
look that up.
I was just gonna remind everyone, Mr. Mayor,
The
that
net.
she
Okay, one
started,
at a time, yeah.
she started by saying that they were gonna
The
be
most
considering
expensive part.
different ways to
The net's not easy.
organize the tennis courts. So maybe we just wait till they come back and, we don't have to really,
Right.
because I have comments about some stuff with the teen center, but I'm not bringing it up right now. We can even email her questions. We know her email, so I was just gonna suggest that. So maybe
Okay,
to-
so more information to come. Jamie, work with Jimmy. We got to find out the legalities and what could be done.
But, also signage, Tenafly residents only, or, no pros.
Oh,
I wouldn't mind registering the pros. I do think, Jamie, I agree with you on that because I've shown up and all of the courts have been lessons.
Right.
And then I can't get a court, but I just
That's
kind of
also
randomly
illegal.
show up sometimes.
Okay,
we also have two courts that now, fortunately, because all the skate parks up, it's broken down now. It's kind of, again, I think that was Jeff's original question. We have those now that should do something. But if
Aren't they all open? Because I've been on both sides, both courts.
The tennis courts are unlocked, yes.
tennis courts,
Mhm.
the there are two old tennis courts that have been for many years now skate park.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So there's no longer, let's,
Adding cage.
All right, so any more questions for Jamie? Before we say thank you to her? All right, Jamie, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great job.
We appreciate all the
everyone.
work you're doing and your team. Keep up the great
Thank you.
work.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Are you on,
You too.
Right.
All right.
are you seeing joint use anytime soon?
actually, I think 2 meetings ago, I still don't have.
I'm still waiting on a response from the school board.
But we changed it a little bit. Mr. Mayor, can you call tomorrow morning?
Yeah, we can call a joint use meeting.
It's been 2, 3, 4 months now since we've been trying.
I'll give
Invite them here.
I'll give the Board of Ed president a call tomorrow morning.
So my request is that actually, I think Emily's year did not get the cottage or didn't attend or whatever it was. I would like to promulgate this teen center, which I think Jamie is doing a miraculous job with. I really would like to get that messaging out on the schools, Blackboard and so forth, but of course we need joint use permission. That's all.
On the teen center?
Right, on the teen center. Usually the schools help us advertise it.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I'm going to, with the council's indulgence, rearrange the agenda a little bit here because we've got seniors, we've got the library, and we've got Richard Collier's. So what I think we'll do next is the senior center and library options for improvements discussion. And as part of that, or immediately thereafter, the library update correspondence. Okay? So why don't we start, Jimmy, with Richards on the, from Colliers is on the line here. Let's go back down to his 2-page letter.
Yep. Well, good
Hi,
evening,
Richard.
Mayor.
Thank you for joining.
Yep,
Hi.
absolutely. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Andy's not available. I apologize. I'll do my best to fill in for him. Everyone should have a copy of a letter proposal from us with various options laid out to basically determine what would be the best approach moving forward on some of these potential projects. And if I don't want to go into the detail of each one of them, I think they're self-explanatory, but I certainly would answer any questions, and I can lay out the process that we'll use to go through them, which would be, generally speaking, we'll review all the existing conditions at each of the sites, what would need to be done to accommodate each option. Based off of that, we'll develop some just general concept plans based on gross square footage for each of the options with the narrative. And then we provide preliminary budgets and schedules for each of them as well, so that you, the council, can make decisions based on that information on what options you may or may not want to go through.
No, that's reasonable. Laura, we got 2 questions. Whose hand was up first? Lauren, go ahead, then Jeff, please.
Thank you for being here tonight. I know Andy and I have many discussions about a community center, and none of these proposals actually address the concerns that I raised in needing one, which is recreational and active areas, basketball courts, community conference space, concerts, gym, walking path, things that would benefit a larger community. But one of the main things was indoor recreation space. I do not see an option here that addresses that.
That is correct, based off the letter that I know you have in front of you. That does not. I'm not privy to how these lists were developed. Andy was. I will certainly circle back with Andy and go through that, and we can amend this. I don't know that it would change the cost, because we're still going to go through these exercises, but I'd certainly be willing to go back, talk to Andy and amend your concerns and what your options that aren't shown.
Then
Okay, Jeff, please.
I would like that conveyed back to Andy and the team, that my concept of what a community center and what our community needs from the planning board, from the recreation department, from this council's work with BFJ is not reflected in any option here. So at least in terms of a community center.
Absolutely. I will convey that to Andy and he can get back to everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you weren't at the last meeting, but I was very, very specific in saying that one of the options, and it's really not clear in here, one of the options needs to be the incorporation of the senior center into this option 3 of the library community center. And it just says rebuild the library, McCandless Room and Teen Center. And I was very, very specific and was assured that there would be an addition of looking at the senior center there, and it's not there. And I gotta say, when I'm assured of something and it doesn't appear, I'm not happy.
Understood, and I apologize for that. Although I wasn't there.
It's not on you, but it is on
Yeah.
your company, and
Yeah.
this was a very specific comment, and I was told very specifically, yes, we will add that, and it wasn't added. I don't know where that fell apart, but if that's how we're starting, that's not good.
Yep,
And
understood.
we know you weren't here for the earlier discussion, so our apologies if they're aimed at you right now as the spokesperson, but you clearly hear the frustration at least on 2 different levels.
Yep, no, I understand, and I'll make sure that we get this adjusted, amended, so that we can get what you're looking for.
It is the same, and we asked for,
Yes, for different.
Right, it's been updated, but these 2 items are missing that need to be added.
So why don't we,
We'll have them updated again.
since many people in the audience are senior center library, why don't we shift at least
Yeah,
to
that's
those
what I think.
dates? So I don't see an,
So we're trying to get to first base, we're trying to get to back here. So if we have to add these 2 things in, and then we can move forward so we can have some concepts to discuss. Right, but it didn't get added, so it needs to get added now. They need to add it when they didn't. So then we'll start over again with a whole new engineering firm then. If that's,
I don't want to delay the process that much. We owe it to the seniors, the library, to keep moving forward. At least let's make sure they add what we're asking as an ad and keep the ball moving. Otherwise, we're back to square one, which I know you've always been. Let's not move backwards.
2 times ago, I said, just do it. The engineer would do it. Put a timeline. That's what I said last. He said, let's give him a chance. They were come back. I thought it was delayed. So what we've got now is generous and say it's not the same thing. At that time, I said, let's reach out to other engineers. This is a huge project. Everyone with half a bit of entrepreneurship would spend the 15 minutes to write a proposal. A project plan, which is all we're asking for.
Well, I think I do think the tougher part is the preliminary cost estimates. Those are a little more tricky. Anyone could do a timeline. I think those are a little tougher because they're more site specific.
right, so we have to
That's a
think, can we
separate
just back up for a second, just to put my 2 cents in? This is like, we're not even dating here. We're not sure if we want to go on a date. We're not sure if we're old enough.
Let's not use that analogy.
But
Analogy.
But my point is that this is an incredibly preliminary, rough, back of the napkin thing we're looking for from any engineering firm,
Yeah.
right? But let me just finish my monologue here. Right? They're not gonna come back to us with construction blueprints saying it's gonna cost X amount of dollars, throw it in the budget, right? We all know that. So let's have them add these 2 things, okay, to the next round of this letter. And frankly, this 2-page letter serves as part of our framework to figuring out exactly what we want to do, right? Because there's whatever 6 or 7 options here. We're not doing 7 options. We're gonna do maybe 1 option. And this is part of the process. Yes, Lauren?
Couple questions. I see our library board, some of our senior centers here today. Have they gotten the information that we're looking at? Because sometimes the audience doesn't have our information. And I think to have a productive conversation today, it might behoove us for a couple minutes to read out these options.
So Right.
Well, I understand that, but now we have an audience and a public listening. So maybe we just take 2 seconds, Mayor,
So I'm gonna.
Jimmy, somebody read them for our public.
I'm gonna say why I believe that's problematic, okay?
Okay.
Is because we have absolutely no idea what we're going to do, right? With any of these details, there are no details. So if we start asking the public, what do they think of this? If they ask us the first question about where you're thinking of building this, we have absolutely no, we're not there yet. There's nothing,
Can I ask a different question?
of course, different questions, good.
Wonderful public attendance tonight. One of the concepts we are bouncing around on this table was a combination library senior center. I'd be curious to know from the public how they felt about a combination. Or is the library interested in standalone and the senior center is interested in
We're
standalone?
going right into the library discussion next, so we'll be able to deal with that immediately.
I mean, we got them both here intertwined. So I'd be very curious to hear from the public.
That's where we're going next, as soon as we're done with Richard. But Richard, you're gonna stay anyway.
Yes, yep.
So do you have clarity on what the council's asking for? About
do.
one, to be sure that the senior center at the municipal complex is part of the library community center, option number 4, I guess it would be. And then the standalone option as a community center, standing alone with all the different sports facilities as basically a third main concept.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I have it. And can I just add something? I don't want to waste any of your time. So who I am, I run the project management division for CED, and I've done the Prudential Center and hospitals and community centers, and I know that we're off to a really bad start, but I will jump in the middle of this and resurrect it, get the proper proposal to you so that we don't have any more of these discussions.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask
Councilman Menon has a question for you.
Yeah, hi, Richard. I don't know if you can answer this, but, all of the options except the first one for each, for the senior center and the library, have bringing in a developer as an option. Is that the only option, or is that the only direction that has been given about, how we want to approach this, that a developer has to be brought in? And then we have to declare
On
the
page
the
one, on senior center / community center, option 3 does depict and discuss, the option with using a developer for a couple various options with a new senior center, retail, residential, rental apartments, etc. So there is that one option. Are you asking, is there other options similar to that type of approach?
Well, there's an option 3 on the library community center, which also discusses bringing in, if I remember correctly.
No.
An assignment development.
Developer.
The option 3 seems is right.
Right, so starting
There's
with,
2 option 3s. So you could have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Options
6.
say
I mean,
bring
this
a
is now too
developer.
confusing.
right, so Vanu, to your question, the senior center, community center, option 1 or 2 are essentially the borough just goes ahead and builds what they want to build. Only option 3 has to do with the potential of bringing in a developer. Only that one of the 3. And on the library,
So if we do an option 4, how are we going to structure that? Is that
you're talking about the library?
for the combined senior center or library?
We would never go
Jeff was talking
go
about.
co.
That's, well, on the library community center, that's just based on what I'm reading here. This is all about, there's no developers here. This is all about borough improvements.
No, I mean, for the 4th option, the one that we're trying to.
Adding the senior center to the municipal complex?
Correct. Which way will that, what are we asking?
I don't think we're contemplating a developer being involved with that.
I will say in my discussions on the senior services, there is a true request to be not connected with another community thing. They did not want to be connected with the physical recreational community center. I'm talking about the seniors that I talk with, that the seniors, from what I understand, for many years, when we pitched ideas about, being with apartments, that was a hard no. They very much, especially after COVID, would like to be unto themselves. And what I don't want to do is start a major project without input from our seniors who might vehemently disagree with our direction.
So we're not starting a project with this. We're trying to knock ideas
nowhere.
around. But this says option 2 and 1 are about rebuilding the senior center as standalone options. So we're considering this. And so until we have something of substance to discuss with anyone, we have taken everyone's view into mind. We've taken independent locations, keeping the senior center where it is, and the other option of moving it to the complex. Which one is going to be reality? We have no idea at this point. We have to have full public participation, but I think we need to present some sort of plan, even of minor substance, so people can say, I like that, I don't like that, add this, take away that sort of thing. So I don't think nothing is being dismissed here at all. Right?
I would like to actually dismiss senior center option 1, which is keeping essentially the hodgepodge of buildings that it exists in today. I'd like to know how my council feels about that. If we are looking at a senior center, one of the things that we know is that senior center as it exists today is different. There's air conditioning and heat issues, there's plumbing issues there. It was pieced together at various times. I would prefer, if our budget allows, to see a demolished and rebuilt type of property.
So you hit the key word there is the budget, right? So if we find out option 1 costs us, $100, option 2 is, $110, right? So this is just going to give us economic back of the envelope sense of what these projects would cost. Nobody's under any obligation here other than having a conversation. It only represents an option so that everyone can understand.
We need a menu to choose from.
You're going to have a menu to choose from.
But there's nothing in this document that we've already not all bounced around. So I don't think this document is moving us in any direction.
But we're trying to establish what the cost of any of this would be. We have absolutely no idea. We're not going to get a cost until we move forward.
Question.
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
I have the 2 items to add. If we approve this 15K now, would it delay the other options at all?
So if you want to move forward, then we can amend this, but we could proceed based off of the future where we adjust it to what you're talking about tonight. We can do that without just, changing the 15,000.
Does the 15,000 include all 6 options here or 1 at a time?
Nope, this is for everything included as shown on this, the proposal. But we can add the 2 in there and still make this work for that dollar value.
So the cost is not going to change when we add the other 2 items in?
No, it's not.
Wait, hold on. It's not going to change. Okay. I think that was a direct answer to your question.
But again, I don't actually see the combination that Minu was speaking about seniors and library together. I don't actually see a combination about,
They're going to work on that.
I know, we need to add it. So does that change the cost if we add things?
No.
If we add options 7 and 8?
He just said no.
Okay.
No. Nope,
I didn't hear that, I'm sorry.
Wait, one at a time.
2 weeks ago.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not. So all the questions you asked, we all asked these questions.
Okay.
last time.
Then my apologies, of course.
No, I mean, that's why I had the same exact piece of paper. So let's hold on to 50,000 until we added in the 2 new things. They didn't add in the 2 new things.
Back it. Okay, got it. My apologies on that.
No problem. No, perfectly reasonable. Okay, so we're going to get the other 2 new things added in. The cost is going to stay the same.
I'd like to add in the community center
That is one of the things we're adding in.
with recreational indoor space.
No question about it. Okay, all right. So now let's move on to the library and because you had correspondence. Is anyone here would like to speak for the library specifically? Whoever would like to. Just give us your name, please, as always. How are you tonight?
Marilyn Friedman. The letter that was sent to the council was really information that we would like to obtain from you. We would like some guidelines as to your thinking for datelines. We cannot express strongly enough of the shape of the roof of our library. We're going to go into the winter months. That means there will be snow on that roof. We already have leaks, tiles that are falling. It is really not only a difficult, unsafe situation. We have children coming to that library afternoons. We are so worried about the liability and that someone is going to get hurt. We care about our staff. We care about our patrons. We care about our children. They are at risk for safety. And I hear what you're saying about new facilities, and that's wonderful and exciting. But we're here tonight to tell you that we have a much more immediate problem, and that is the safety of our community. I just want to also reiterate that 80% of the households in Tenafly have a library card. This is a community that values your library, that feels it is important, and feels that it is a center of which our children come to, our seniors come to, our community, people from outside the town come to. We are very proud, but we're also very worried that this is an accident going to happen. And we were trying to express that to you last time, and we will keep coming back because we are so worried about what may happen.
Questions? Thank you. Question, go ahead.
So at the last time we discussed this, the council gave permission for the library to fix the ceiling subject to the fire inspection. So my question is for Jimmy. What did the fire inspection show, and can they remove these tiles?
It would be against fire code to remove the tiles as a fire hazard, as there are smoke detectors tied and connected to the tiles. So removing one tile here and there, replacing one tile here and there is not an issue, but to remove completely would be a fire hazard against fire code.
So what option did the fire inspector say?
That would have to be pretty much, it would have to be engineer. An engineer would have to provide guidance on how to now make it not a fire hazard if you wanted to remove those ceiling tiles, because it's meant to keep fire, in case, God forbid, there was a fire within a certain level and not expanding, and keep it retained to a certain degree.
You're talking about fire alarms and sprinkler systems.
Yeah.
I understand, but can they remove the tiles and reinstall fire alarms and fire systems into the ceiling above?
There is a mechanism. I don't know exactly what that would be, but it's
possible.
Yeah, it's possible.
Okay, so apparently the library board believes that I'm holding this process up. Let me be loud and clear. I love my library. I want it to be safe. I'm not holding this process up. As I sit here today, I'm instructing the library, please go ahead and do these repairs internally. They are not ours internally in the building to do the fire, to change the fire alarms and do the tiles, correct?
I believe that's accurate.
Right. So you guys, excuse me, the library board has its own budget to do this work internally in its library. That's what they have.
So you're suggesting that the library take care of this?
The internal ceiling tiles and the replacement of new fire alarm systems. Yes. They could do that without any of us having to say it. That's actually what they're tasked with.
Jeffrey,
I'm not saying you personally. So what do the engineers suggest? And again, I'm not suggesting anything unsafe. I know, Mr. Gilbert. That's not what we're saying. We're saying we want to maintain it.
Christine, stop.
How you're such an confident organization.
All right. Yes, go ahead.
Spending that money, wasting taxpayer money because it's leaking in the.
All right, so hold on a second. We're not going to go into public comment time here right now. But you wanted to, Lita, come up, please.
Mayor Zina, members of the council, Lita Kratnoff, 27 West Clinton. I am so disappointed and frustrated. I feel as though I'm watching a rerun of meetings that I attended months ago and at which I spoke more than once. The issue is the roof. We need a new roof. That's the issue. The leaks, that's the issue. The danger to people sitting under that roof and ceiling, that's the issue. The plans you have and the options you presented sound great, but I see 1, 2, 3 years ahead. Is the roof going to wait for that? Or are we going to have an unfortunate accident? As I said, I feel like a broken record. I said it before. I thought I made it clear, and I thought from what you said, you were coming with options, like, when are we going to do the roof? When is it going to be put in? Who's going to put it in? Let's move along in the next month or two. And it's not happening. I speak not only as a friend of the library or as a senior citizen, I speak as a very concerned citizen, concerned for the lives of people, the safety of people sitting under that roof. It's just a simple 4-letter word, roof, not complex, not paths, not this, not that. We've been asking for it for a long time, pointing the danger to you. Please, let's get on with what really needs to be done. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. So this building, the complex itself, as we all know, is faced with a myriad of issues, not including, far beyond the roof itself. Now, the structure of the roof, the structure of the roof, I'm not talking about the tiles, the roof tiles and leaks is a sound roof. And the roof itself is not coming down, all right? The problem is the leaking. And the cost of repairing that roof, because of the way that building was built 60 years ago, is about, the only bid that came in was what, $800,000 to fix a roof that the estimate was expected to be about $150,000. Okay. So when you combine the $800,000 amount of money along with the other issues of the slab floor problems, window problems, whatever, but bathroom piping problems in the complex itself, it pretty much comes to the point of it's the cost of building a new facility there, new building, right? So we're faced with the economics of it all. Now, in terms of the short-term options for the roof, we could literally put a blue tarp, like the engineers told us, over the whole roof to stop the rainwater from coming in and keep the snow sliding off the roof. I know that, when was the last time we had someone come to repair the roof?
I think it was in August.
August,
Mhm.
okay. So what we've been doing is, when there are leaks that we discover, we become aware of, we're sending the roofers up there to patch the roof. which is 100% agree, Alita. That's not a long-term goal. Those are short-term fixes. None of us like doing that, okay? Unfortunately, we're stuck with this particular building that none of us are happy with, right? And we're fighting over money and how to resolve the situation. So we've got the repair people coming. Now, how was it this week? It rained earlier in the week, correct? Did we have a lot of leaks there? You know, what's everyone's opinion from the library? Yeah, so who's been at the library? Did we have any? Go ahead, yes. Of course, yes.
Well, that's good.
Right, because TARP is not crazy expensive. We could do that. I mean,
Again, it's twofold. It's the outside and the inside.
So
So
the whole idea, again, it's not a solution.
right.
We're trying to say.
If we talk,
through the winter,
if we top the roof, well, let's just say it's less likely to get in. Therefore, it won't damage ceiling tiles.
It sounds like a no,
temporary until we can find a better.
A win-win.
I will ask Richard. Hey, Rich, since we have Richard,
Is he gone?
you
Yep.
there?
I'm here. I'm listening.
So if we, and I'm not suggesting you off the top of your head know square footage of the library roof or anything like that. But the whole issue that we've talked about before with tarping the roof temporarily to help keep any rainwater out, can we do that?
You certainly can. I mean, that's the most temporary of all, approaches. I'm not sure that it would get you very long, extend that the duration, you might be doing it frequently. I would like to know a little bit more about the existing roof, the type, with a little bit more information. I might be able to do a little bit more investigating to see if we can find something that's a better temporary solution than the tarp. I think a tarp is just going to
Okay,
become
so-
problematic, but it'll
So
fix it
if you could-
temporarily.
If you could have that discussion with Andy, because he knows, he understands all the details of where the roof is out, how it's the old construction. It's not this, there's no plywood to rip off per se, to replace sections it's just not that simple, unfortunately. Let's find out from him about topping the roof.
so, but.
Yes.
Right guy here. Instead of coming back with another story, let's task Colliers with coming back to the next meeting with the actual proposal. Such that we can read that proposal in advance of the meeting
An estimate.
and such that we can actually approve or not approve something at that meeting. Again, I'm assuming the TARP is.
Yeah, let's.
What I have in my house. It's thousands of dollars. That sounds like no regret. To do that. In addition to that, let them come back with possibly a better solution than Blue's Park. And then we can make that decision then. But at least it sounds like a temporary solution. If you keep the water out, that means that the tiles will leak,
And they won't collapse, and it won't fall.
There is a safety concern, and I hear Marilyn and Lita internally. I didn't realize that this was going to be such an issue to remove the tiles. So I would be interested in some options that the library board can consider, and maybe, a solution from our fire inspector on what could be safe, an internal solution, because this can't be sustainable and it can't be up to our library board to be, picking up fall-in ceiling tiles.
Yeah, keep in mind, the reason ceiling tiles fall is because the water drips and accumulates and then they collapse.
Get that, but I don't know the integrity of them after numerous leaks.
Right.
So
Well, they slowly absorb water. then
I
they fall.
fully get that. And again, I want to move this forward inside and outside.
Never mind.
Because we could tarp, but then if you get ceiling tiles that are just old and absorption.
Well, we replaced them.
Do we need an inspector coming in to take a look at those ceiling tiles?
Yeah, the guys are, well, why don't you answer that question about how often our maintenance guys go in?
Oh, I mean, maintenance goes in, they were keeping me updated, over the past few days with the rain that has been coming down. They've been doing, various checks, periodically throughout the few days as they normally would. And of course, if something happens, if they get called, they will go take a look. But I believe, speaking specifically to the tiles, it's really not the inspectors. I mean, they just tell you if it's a hazard or not. They would not provide solutions, but I think it's appropriate, I think within the conversation of, and correct me if I'm wrong, what I'm hearing is ask Colliers about the tarp option and other options for the ceiling tiles.
Can we ask Colliers for the internal of the library?
Sure, we can ask whatever the council, we can get them to do that also in terms of the fire suppression systems and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
So Richard, did you hear that?
I did not. Please repeat.
Okay, so inside the library, we have a drop ceiling, okay? And the integral to that drop ceiling are smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, and our sprinkler system. Right? And the sprinkler system. And one of the questions is, we'd like to remove the ceiling tiles, and what does that mean in terms of all those systems and rerouting them to make it all still work? And what would it cost for us to do that? Because the water is leaking on tiles, the tiles are absorbing it, and they're collapsing on people. So we'd rather just have the water drips, given a choice.
Right, yeah. I'd have to look at to understand, different systems like sprinklers face up and down. So if you were to take out the ceiling, let's say the grid would still be there, but the ACT tiles that are getting saturated and falling, we'd have to do a little bit further investigation to fully understand this, how simple it may or may not be to do that. It's possible we could do that, but it would, fire alarms would have to be resecured to different things if they're sitting in the middle of the tile. Same thing with sprinklers, etc. So it certainly is something I think that we need to do, and we'll be glad to help and resolve this with you. But it's hard for me to give an answer without seeing it and some of my team.
No, we don't expect you to give us an answer on Zoom here.
This is for Jimmy and Richard. I think that before we do that work, let's get a quote for how much that work would cost.
Well, right, and everything has to
Right, but I'd like it, I don't want it grouped together. I want that to be a separate.
itemized list. And
Right.
Susan, you're still on the line? Susan Corrado? Susan's still there?
Yeah, she's there.
She's on mute.
Yeah, she's on mute.
Maybe she stepped away. I have a question for her on reappropriating money. Okay, what other questions do we have on the library? Jeff, please.
Not so much a
Mayor?
question.
Mayor?
Oh,
Oh,
you mind, Jeff?
hello?
I don't mind.
So, thank you. Yeah, Jeff, Susan, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Are there, if
Sure.
we do some of this exterior, we do some of this roof work on the library, in anticipation of, ultimately doing a much larger project, is there some money available to reappropriate from other projects to, help fund this?
So I believe that we have some completed projects, and now that we just bonded, we could possibly, I have to talk to the bond council and auditors, reappropriate funds to handle some of this, yes.
Okay,
We
all
could
right,
do,
so
we
we'll
could
get
do
to
that,
that.
or maybe do an ordinance, something like that. But the interior, I think that the library, we give them money for funds that we raise through taxation that is left over from our reserves. And I think the understanding was that they would use some of those funds for their interior projects.
Okay,
I think we should
So-
be doing the exterior with the help from them to do the interior.
okay, all right, Susan, thank you, that's very helpful, actually, thank you. So
You're
Richard,
welcome.
you have clarity on what we're looking for?
Yep, yes, I do. I'll speak with Andy
We want to
immediately.
understand, yep. We want to understand our cost options here.
Absolutely.
Inside and out for the short-term situation.
Yep, I'll look at it with one of our
Any other-
structural engineers. We actually have a building
Okay.
envelope team, so I know what you need to do, we need to
Perfect.
do to kind of give you some options.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, come on. If you could just come to the mic, otherwise you don't get recorded for the record and I get yelled at by the borough clerk. I get yelled at enough.
I'm there. One thing on the cost of the roof, keep in mind that the estimate that we got was at the peak of the pandemic.
Understood.
Supply chain difficulties were
100% right. Yeah.
high, but I suspect, given what I've read about the cost of them,
You're 100% right, and we've taken that into consideration, yes. Jack, yes.
So what I was going to say before is I like the sentiment, you're going to come to each meeting, and you should. It keeps the ball rolling. That's important. But I don't want anyone walking away with the sense that this council is sitting here ignoring the problem because there was a complaint about squirrels. We worked on that. I just heard that we were there as recently as August, working on the roof, fixing leaks. And we're having these discussions and we're looking for solutions and we're talking about tarps. What I would like is when you come to those meetings, I don't want the situation where someone's going to yell at us, you spent 200,000 or 300 or 400,000 on the roof, it was a waste. I don't want to keep doing a Band-Aid approach. We all know this building's in horrible condition. So I guess my ask is, when you come to each of those meetings, which is good, come with specific ideas that we can help you with in that Band-Aid, low-cost Band-Aids, because right now the building's hemorrhaging and there isn't even with prices coming down, so gas and delivery has gone up, the prices are not going to be that much lower than what we saw. So please come here with specifics rather than fix it and you're not doing anything, because we are. We're trying to address each of these as they come up. If we weren't, that would be horrible on our part, but we have roofers, we have people work on, we will continue to do that. We will continue to look solutions. Ideally, in the long run, I think we all have to accept that this building is going to have to be rebuilt in some fashion. It's just going to have to be. We can't keep spending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to put Band-Aids on it. So let's look for low-cost Band-Aids. Come here to these meetings. You're in that building, seeing the leaks, tell us about it, let's address it. Come with specific ideas that we can work together rather than just you guys do something, because that really is, we are doing something, and when we hear about it, we have addressed it. If we hadn't addressed it, then you'd still have squirrels, and I'm glad that problem, I understand, is gone, yes? So that's my ask.
Seniors have any comments they want to make? Senior Center tonight or no? Okay. All right. Any other questions about the library, the construction project from Richard, from the council? No? Okay. All right. No other questions. Okay. Thank you for being here tonight. All right. We're going to move on to the next item. We'll go back to the agenda order, the Bergen County Community Development. Thank you for coming tonight. We're going to go on to the Bergen County Community Development Block Grant.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So we were notified by the county of the Community Development Block Grant opportunity opening. The timeline to submit is open now up until December 16th. So just wanted to see, I think the last time with the council, we shared the information with the council, then asked the council to come back with proposed ideas for submissions and eligibility projects under the grant
Councilwoman
guidelines.
Nacho O'Connor, go ahead.
So Jimmy, I noticed that one of the things on the letter was about infrastructure, and that got my eye. And so I was just wondering then from you and the mayor, were there infrastructure projects related to culverts, to flooding, to some of those things that we might be able, that were kind of in our to-do list that might be worth applying for?
Just to throw it out there in terms of, well, like the Bliss Avenue Bridge project, we're getting, 90% of that money back,
Yeah.
right? And there's a shot that the state will reimburse the balance of it to us, but that's.
Right,
Don't bank on
I
that.
believe you've mentioned in the past when we've had other residents come and talk about flooding, that there were other things that you were getting studied or projects. And I just thought that one of those things might be making the most sense for this type of grant. It's a infrastructure, so that's
Right.
Yeah, if you have specific ideas, I could definitely run it back to, usually I would bounce it off Andy because he's knowledgeable with this and what's eligible or not, or directly to the county. Typically, some of these are more geared towards ADA access, handicap accessibility, vulnerable populations that are at risk for certain things. But certainly, happy to take back any ideas and suggestions to ensure if they're eligible or not.
So Jimmy, on that note, I actually have an idea that I've been working on. Something that I pitched numerous times in our budget that doesn't want to go in our budget might be ripe for a community block grant. So one of the things the community block grant focuses on are parks and playground upgrades. And one of the wonderful things we have here is an ADA committee, differently abled, and we have a wonderful population of parents and children. And one of the things that fall under that is actually sensory processing. I'm a parent of a sensory processing child, and playgrounds are a godsend for a sensory parent. So one of the things that I actually would like to see is more inclusivity in our playground equipment. And to that effect, I actually did a little bit of research with our current playground provider, who's Game Time, but I'm going to open it up. And these, and I can pass them around, are called sensory domes. They're pieces of playground equipment that are geared towards children with sensory needs, with differently abled. And then there's also, along with it, all of the concepts that I constantly talk about for our families, which are benches, which are benches for children, tables, places where parents and children can be in our playgrounds, which are sorely lacking. It's community spaces that really could be updated, and I'm going to send some of this around. And then there's wonderful additional playground equipment where we've taken things out for something like this, which is a butterfly climber for something like a Froggy Park or Walnut Park. It's a themed park, might be good. And these are, again, are for both physical and sensory. I am, as a package, as an ADA inclusivity playground, but I'd actually like to make all of our playgrounds that way because people live in all different parts of our community. It's something that I think would fall under a very simplified, smaller community block grant request, and I think it would be pretty eligible under the guidelines that I've read. And again, this is ADA compliant, sensory children, differently abled children. These are things that are encouraged for play. And I have all the quotes. Again, we'd have to work with an outdoor side vendor. These are the quotes that the pricing on some of this stuff, things of the tables could run up to $2,000. Some of the climbers, like here's a frog climber, that's significantly more expensive. It's more like $14,000. But
Derail your conversation.
no, go ahead.
Qualify for this. We're not in a
Because we're not,
low consensus track.
so,
None of our properties are maybe.
but the ones in the heart of the town that connect aren't they in the track? Dan is saying,
We lost our track.
yeah, then I can circulate. I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. I didn't get it in time, but I've been looking into this for many years because as a parent of a child who really relies on some of this equipment, I do find our playgrounds for differently abled or sensory children very difficult. My first child, no problem, up and down the slides. My second child, a little different. So I would like to encourage, if not through the community block grant, but maybe through an open space, if not. But I would like to keep this on discussion. Yes. The second, I have a second idea for community block grant. So Dan, are you saying we're not eligible at all for this
I
grant?
don't think any
We
of
don't
our.
have a census tract.
I don't
That's our
think we
challenge.
had been. We'd have to
Well-
double check. that.
Well, the other challenge,
Positive, we missed it.
well, the other challenge,
Land is the senior center.
well, that's where I'm going next. So I am the liaison to the Senior Services Committee, which is not the senior center, but the Senior Services Committee and the Senior Center both heavily rely on the use of our senior bus. We just applied for a grant for our senior van and we did not win that grant. We are now looking for either a van or more CDL drivers for the bus that could be covered by a grant. So that might be an angle that we can take, because ideally we want the van, which is much more flexible in terms of our residents' schedules and needs. But if we are stuck with the bus, then we do need some additional driving assistance, or, you know, maybe cover some salaries there, which all fall under that concept. So those are the two things, and that's a perfect example of a grant we did not win, but still need the infrastructure of it.
Did you have a comment? Go ahead.
Just to be clear, so I'll check the eligibility of both of those items per the grant guidelines.
The grant we lost was a 5310 one from NJ Transit.
Yes, for the van, yeah.
We're 0 for 2.
Yeah,
I tried it once.
right.
Okay. We know the question. Were there questions over here? All right, any more questions on this topic? We covered. Okay, let's move on to the item B, the alley rights of way. And this item is talking about, you know, in certain areas of the borough, we've got streets where the houses are on the streets and there's alleys behind them. They're kind of like a no man's land, if you will. They're technically, to the best of our knowledge, owned by the developers who built the developments 100 years ago. They're 20, 30, 40 feet wide, whatever they might be, running behind people's houses. And we don't know who the descendants of that developer is anymore. Where there's not complete clarity on where the lot lines end, where the survey lines end. And what's happening is the residents are over there, and some of the alleys, you know, people have rights of way on them somewhat. And they use them for their cars. In some places they don't. People have started putting fences on them, lawn and garden equipment. We're having issues with a neighbor doesn't like the fact that you put a fence up. And so the building department comes and makes you take your section down, but it's not your property, and who's going to actually take it down? And so the question becomes, and previous councils have been through this before, about whether we want to try and solve this problem without opening up a Pandora's box. Because roughly speaking, top level is, I can't speak to the legal process, so I'm just going to do my layman's terms, trying to determine who owns the land before we can actually not find them and then take the land. And do we give the land to the neighbors who now have to pay taxes on the land? It's not wide enough for us to put roads in, any sort of legal road. So we have some people who are asking for us to take care of it, which we consistently say no, because we can't plow property that's not ours, it's private property. So really the question becomes, do we want to get serious about trying to resolve this issue? Or do we just want to pump it down the line? Go ahead, Vinay.
Yeah, Mayor, that brings up a very interesting question. One of the applicants at the Board of Adjustments this past meeting, I think they call it like a flagpole.
Flag lot?
Flag, yeah. It concerned, you know, it kind of tangentially, the flagpole driveway that goes into a property behind. You know, there's no direct way to get to this property.
So is the kind of the pole part a right of way?
So the pole part, well, you know, I don't think that was ever addressed, and it's too bad that Joel Friedman left, who's one of the board members. But I don't think that was addressed as a right of way question. I think there was a general sense that, oh, the owner who owns the back property, that's part of their property.
It's probably an easement.
Yeah, and so I'm just, you know, I think that is actually a good question to find out and determine, you know, what these, who owns the properties, and, you know, kind of get some kind of determination on it.
Julie, then Jeff, and then Lauren? Yeah.
So Mayor, you've been on the council and now mayor a lot longer than me. Have you found that this issue is something that, you know, it becomes a problem or something?
So what's happening is to the extent when I started on the planning board, whatever, 15 years ago, the problem has been percolating, and it appears to be percolating more and more. As people have encroached on the property, and the differences between neighbors' opinions of what should be done is becoming much more pronounced.
Okay.
So, if I was, well, let's go. So does that answer your question? But before I give my opinion, go ahead, Jeff, and then Warren.
All right, so, yeah, this issue has been around forever, and I know a number of property owners there who are affected, and I feel bad for the situation. The problem becomes if we look for a public solution, us getting involved. Unless we had everyone on board, we're never gonna solve it. So they really, I hate to say this, but really the only true resolution that will ever solve this once and for all would be for all of the affected neighbors to hire a good attorney, split the costs up, so it'll be next to nothing for each of them, just an attorney to go through and figure it out and solve it. But it's their land, it's not our land. I think that we've determined over decades and decades of looking. So just, I mean, even when I had a dispute with my neighbor, and it wasn't really a dispute, but over who owned what area of sidewalk for snow removal. And I got this nasty letter from the borough of Tenafly, remove your snow, and I knew it wasn't my land. And they said, well, you gotta hire the land surveyor. We're not doing that for you. And it's the sidewalk you, the town, put in. So I understand their frustration, but they can't expect us to solve this because they won't all be on board anyway. So we will not solve it. That's my take.
Thank you, Jeff, because I was just about to say, we need to task the property owners with this and not the borough. I mean,
It's not a borough expense. That's for
the
sure.
problem is that a lot of our own paperwork, unfortunately, we're in a fire in the office, right?
Right, but the survey maps are still the survey maps.
Correct.
And they all exist. We know it's not ours.
If there's an overlay of two properties, or I know there's one on Esmond Place, we spoke to
Right.
one of the owners. We will not be able to say definitively without, a deed search and everything else. We don't want to be the decider of that. We want it to be, as Jeff exactly said, let them both fight it out privately. But I would recommend that we maybe make some sort of push to get them to do that process. Maybe the tax assessor comes out and says, we need to define your properties. Do you know your property line? If not, please go ahead and we encourage you to, do this process. And maybe it's the tax office.
Thank you. So you've been here a whopping 2 hours and 6 minutes.
Yeah.
To the extent you have any understanding, right? What is your view of a scenario like this?
So I mean, in a scenario where you don't know necessarily who owns the property, the remedy would be legal action that's called to quiet the title. And that would determine who owns the property. The problem that you face as a borough is really twofold. It's if, someone accuses the borough of owning this property, you could have liability if something goes wrong there. Or you have the issue of you're just not collecting tax revenue that you could be collecting on these properties by not properly knowing who owns the properties. So it is in the borough's interest to figure out, the cost should lay onto the property owners, but it is in the borough's interest to figure out to some extent who owns this property.
So thank you. So maybe perhaps we do this, is we have our borough attorney give us a list of some recommendations of what are the legal options here for the residents to deal with, okay? Right, and then just give some guidance, right? So you don't have 100 residents on their own trying to figure it out, because that's what they're really asking for.
We have a complete list of the overlapping or undecided.
Yeah, we know, we have all the maps, we have all of it.
Letter just to those properties. We encourage you to go through this process.
Well,
Here's why.
that's what I'm thinking. We prepare a communication from our borough attorneys. We review it here, we discuss it with her, and we go decide what the second, so we get to the first step, and then we go to the second step.
I mean, either through building or tax, we should be,
Right.
here are your options, please resolve this, but then give them a time period.
Well, that's a whole separate question, because it's my understanding, again, my common understanding, this stuff could take years.
Yes. It's not a quick process, especially with something, it could be as complicated as this, it could go back 100 years to
Just a long time.
proper owneries.
Right. Okay, all right, so you got that.
I apologize to summarize. So you wanted to ask
We're
the
gonna-
attorney for recommendations?
We're gonna have a conversation with Wendy, the three of us will have a conversation
Hmm.
about preparing a list of recommendations that we can share with the residents. Maybe we'll have a town hall meeting, maybe
Okay.
we'll do a mailing.
No problem.
We'll figure it out, but the three of us should have this conversation.
Okay.
We have to provide some guidance. Okay. All right, PSE&G Direct Install Program. Susan, you're on the line. Susan's gonna take us through this one, right?
Yes.
Oh, hi, everyone. Can you hear
Hi,
me?
Susan.
Hi. So I'm going to introduce to you Peter Perello. He's from SSG, he's a representative for PSE&G, and it's regarding an incentive program that the borough is eligible for. They came in and assessed the borough, and we were very fortunate to be eligible for this program, which the total cost is almost 1.3 million, and our incentive and savings is over $1 million, and the cost to the borough will be 20% of that, $259,907, and the balance of that is paid at an interest-free on our bill for 60 months. It's a fabulous program. A lot of CFOs have instituted it in the boroughs in Bergen County, and I learned of it from another CFO who put me in contact with Peter. So Peter, I'm introducing you now. If you would be so kind to take any questions from our borough council, the mayor and council, that would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Peter, can you step up to the mic? You might want to, up there, yeah. So can you just give us a sense of, who you are? Are you with PSE&G? Are you with a vendor of PSE&G? Just so the council understands the exact relationship, and then what you do and how this program works, please.
Sure, no problem. So my name's Pete Perillo. I'm with Facility Solutions Group. We're a contractor that was hired by PSE&G. Covered 3 counties for their install program. So one of the 3 counties is Bergen County. It's a program that's for municipalities, school districts, nonprofits, and any business in the urban enterprise zone. What it allows us to do is come into a facility like this, look at your lighting, heating and air conditioning in your buildings. So what we're proposing is to install LED lighting, or any lights that aren't already LED, change out 8 heating and air conditioning units, and replace 4 boilers. PSE&G pays up to 80% of the cost. So the cost for the total project cost is just under 1.3 million. They're going to pay over $1 million of that cost. So the 259, you have 2 options. You can either cut a check and make a one-time payment, or what most municipalities do is they finance it on your PSE&G bill, 5 years at 0%. Your monthly cost is a little over $4,300. The energy savings per month is a little over $7,400. So you're cash flow positive by $3,100 a month, day one. What happens next is if you approve it, you check a box that says you want to finance it, or if you do want to make the one payment, you sign off on the agreement. We submit it to PSE&G. The agreement's between you and PSE&G, not us. So they're going to bill you and invoice you on your PSE&G bill each month. We're basically the contractor that's going to come in, and we use subcontractors that are already pre-approved in the program. That'll change out your lights and all your mechanical equipment. We oversee and project manage it. We do the final walkthroughs with someone on your staff to make sure everything's been 100% completed and working condition.
Super quick question. So you've already looked at this building. That's how you came up with these costs. So can you just tell us, with the rooftop HVAC units, you're saying that this would save, the new stuff you would put on would save so much more than what we currently have?
Yes, what we have now is their standard efficiency units. So what happens is we take all the information. PSE&G has a tool that we just plug and play with. So we put all the information in. PSE&G spits out the proposal. So the proposal's from them, not from us. They set all the pricing. They basically do everything. We're kind of like call it a glorified sales team. That's basically all our goal is.
So these projected savings come from PSE&G's little calculator?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If we want to do part of this and not all, is that possible?
You could, it changes the economics. Say that lighting is always going to be your best bang for your buck.
Mhm.
There's two caveats with this project right now. So number one, program, it's been out for about a year and a half. It's been out for many years, but the new program's been out for about a year and a half. In the beginning, the incentives were very low. There wasn't a lot of people forward. In July, they increased the incentives. Those increased incentives and small. What that means is if you do it, program's not going away, but you're going to lose probably about 20% of the incentive. In most cases, that's not a big deal. In your case, it's $1 million. It's a nice number. The other caveat is, which isn't your issue, but it's kind of all our issue. We sold so much in this program. Each of the contractors is given an allotment of how much we're allowed to sell. We're getting very close to our allotment. We don't know if we're going to make the end of it.
Well, we're not going to be able to
Budget for this anyway.
make that quick of a decision, I will tell you that. There's a discussion we need to have. Have you inspected our current boilers? Because they were recently replaced.
Yes.
Yeah, he inspected the whole thing.
Yeah, all four of them.
Did,
Vanilla, go ahead.
and so you looked at only this building, or did you look at
No,
the
the
borough?
entire complex.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying, but not the rest of the borough, or just this municipal building?
It includes everything from police, fire, library, it includes everything.
Oh, okay.
Includes everything.
Yes.
Including things like, I mean, for example, the senior center would be a borough-owned property, but it's off-site, it's not
Yeah,
here.
it's only this site that we.
Got it, okay.
So help me understand one of the economics here. So this is going to reduce our monthly energy cost also?
Yeah, that's the biggest benefit.
3,000.
And that's how we wind up being,
You're not using capital, it's reducing your monthly. You're reducing the operating side.
what is, Susan, what is our monthly bill? Do you have any idea off the top of your
Well,
head?
I called Mary to get a couple of prices just to double check. She had 1 month with $9,000, another month with $7,000. You know, it's up there. So I mean,
So in other words, you're going to be, so,
I spoke to another CFO who does this. He's done it already in Hillsdale, Whitcliffe Lake. He's done it in multiple towns. I think Waldwick did it a while ago. Pete, could you tell them maybe some of the towns that you know of that have instituted the program?
so wait, I want to follow up on the information you just gave me, Susan. So in other words, in order to be ahead of the game by 3,000 a month, you're arguing that our energy bills will probably have to fall, because we have to pay you 4,000 a month. If we're at 9,000, they're falling to like 2,000 and 3,000 a month?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what you're spending now. It's just, PSE&G's calculation, which the way they calculate it, they use 15 cents a kilowatt hour for electric and 93 cents for gas. They use that standard for everybody. So they did not take your bills and calculate what are you really paying. But the way rates are now, that's pretty conservative.
Yes, Lauren, please.
I am having some hesitation about having no say over the subcontractor here. Because once we contract with PSE&G, we literally open our doors up to whoever they choose to come in. And as we've seen before, especially with one of these units, issues arise. So explain to me how the subcontractors are picked. If there's an issue, who's liable? Does it become PSE&G? Is it your contractor?
You're contracting with, but because we're under contract with them, our subcontracts.
Yeah, we don't pick.
No, there are subcontractors.
Mhm.
So what happens is, we've had times where someone may say, oh, we have an HVAC guy that we. The answer is no. Why? The HVAC contractors, even the lighting contractors, they have to front all the money for the equipment, which in this case is a lot. They don't get paid till the job's completed. They're
To
used.
your satisfaction or to the borough's?
Because we do our final walkthrough, and if whoever we're walking around with, maybe your DPW guy or whoever it is, he says, yeah, this isn't working, we need to fix it. Otherwise, you don't sign off on the project completion form, because we need to submit that to PSE&G before we get any payment.
I need to see the contract in detail, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a 7-page agreement, I have it here, but, yeah, I can leave it, it's.
I think Susan could circulate.
Yeah, Susan have that?
Yeah, she has.
Susan has it, so
Yes.
let's have Susan circulate that to the
No,
council
no,
member.
we have it.
I think
But
I
she
sent
circulated it
it.
already?
I think through.
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay, so I didn't see it the second. Okay, Banu, did you have a question? Julie, go ahead.
Yeah, just that Susan had placed this under the to be considered, and he's talking about running out of time. Are we talking about possibly voting on this for the next meeting then? Is that the time frame of this? Just
I
curious.
can't.
I mean, like, you know, like that you would get them the first, is this like a 2 reading situation?
It's a resolution.
So what does that
The
mean?
resolution's one reading.
1 reading, so in theory, we could place it on the one in
Place it
2
on the
weeks?
next agenda. You can have a special 10-minute meeting to vote on it after you've had a chance to sleep on it. All kinds
So
of stuff.
I
Go
would
ahead,
just
Jimmy.
suggest doing that. Just place it on the next agenda, but any questions?
I think just one thing to ask, if there's any timing implications related if we did carry this to the next meeting.
Which is
Not sure if there's any deadlines that have to be met or anything, just.
So I did originally want on the next meeting, but Pete spoke to someone and they were concerned about the allocation of funds being put out there and the timeline. So maybe what the mayor suggested, maybe we don't wait till the next meeting and think about it, and just have a quick meeting, because I'd hate to see us lose the funding on this.
I'm not entering a contract for major infrastructure changes here, where we don't pick our subcontractors, et cetera, on the fly
Well,
after
that's-
just being introduced
Saying, we're
tonight.
not saying it's tonight, but we're saying.
Well, it's on our resolution, so.
Yeah, so I mean.
Well, no, I'm saying if you're
what's
not
your
ready.
viewpoint?
But Susan, hold up. So my whole point was, because Councilwoman Dayton has some things to read through, to me, it sounds like a very good idea, you know, but how do we feel about maybe in a week from today, try to do a 10-minute meeting and vote up or down? That way, within the week, you've gotten to review the contract and you can vote yay or nay. But
we
they're
can
saying
answer
she doesn't want us to
questions we
wait
have.
2
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah, so,
I like that. I would like Wendy to do.
of course.
Whoever's
Right.
on to do an analysis for.
All right, Adam. You're fine with Julie's, Banu?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I generally, I think it's a good idea, you know, because you're taking on the reputation of PSE&G. to
Yeah.
some
Correct.
extent. You're not taking on.
Is also. in
The subs,
right.
It's all about PSE&G. Right.
Wait,
We're
before,
writing them checks
quick
every month
question.
anyway.
quick question.
Yes, go ahead,
So
Dan.
when I read this, I equated it to the worry-free program that we get at our homes.
Yeah.
That's like what I simplified it as. Does this come with follow-up maintenance or repair issues?
Standard warranties, labor warranties.
Great, I guess
How
that's
long?
separate. So he doesn't recommend any changes.
Equipment, it's, 3 years and 5 years, and on the labor,
And the labor,
it's the labor's,
the same?
So Dan, do you agree with Julie's,
Yes.
okay, Jeff? Lauren?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Julie, Julie,
Okay,
I think
so-
a boiler and HVAC people, I'd be interested to hear more information.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay,
we can give you as many references as you want. In the county, I've done personally 10 buildings with the county. Emerson,
Which buildings?
Special services, I can email you if you want.
I work at the county. Okay, okay.
I was working with Pete Garrett,
Yes,
so Pete can vouch for.
yes,
We're actually still doing work with the county now.
okay.
Emerson just approved this on Tuesday. We're on the agenda for approval with MAWA next week, with Lakes the week after. I've done work with Emerson.
Talk to me.
Like TNEC, we did about 7 or 8 buildings for Dean Kaczynski over there.
Yep.
Montvale, we've done work with a lot of municipalities. Feel free to call any issues, ask them anything you want. I mean, it's nice from your standpoint. PSCG wasn't backing it. Who's FSG? And you don't know us from anything. But we have requirements that we have to meet. Because of our contract with them. They have requirements because the BPU is overseeing that.
right.
Okay.
So it's a trickle down. So the contractors we've used, we've been using these contractors for the last 5-6 years.
So let's get a copy of this contract for Wendy. Obviously, we have other questions to ask her about things we're doing here. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Very
So much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Susan. We
Thank you,
appreciate
Susan.
putting that
That
together.
was really good catch.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank
Bye.
you. All right.
You're welcome.
Bye. See you later. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Comment now, right?
You're welcome. Bye.
See you later, Susan.
Okay,
Okay.
bye-bye.
Next is the administrator's report.
Oh, oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a couple things I wanted to highlight and add as well. Update on Oresco Park. We are just waiting on the emblem for the walking path. That should be coming in a week or so to be installed. Otherwise, the paths and pavers are installed, and Public Works will be installing the benches in the next week or so. And we're happy to close that project out. Trees have been included, some landscaping, minor landscaping upgrades have been done. So we're coming close to closing out that project.
And the chess tables.
Yeah, that will be next, absolutely. Absolutely.
The path looks good. I walked
Yeah.
it today. It really,
Wait, did you say the
very
trees are next to?
They already planted 2 new trees, Public Works, towards the right off the sidewalk of Tenafly Road. There are a couple new trees and a little new shrubberies, some minor landscaping, so, yep. The newsletter, Borough newsletter will be sent out. It should be in the mail tomorrow. I left a copy in all the council members' box. And if anyone's interested, they could get it in Borough Hall tomorrow. And just an update to the borough license permit fees. I submitted from various departments. I know it's a lot to digest. And I could either, my recommendation, 1 or 2 recommendations is either if a subcommittee wants to be made just to see how some of the governing body members may feel with certain ranges to propose, or if you'd like me to come back after meeting with each of the department supervisors to come back with some recommendations of what some fees they may propose. Either way is fine. But I just wanted to provide that to the council and get some direction from there.
The schedule I suggested for Davis Johnson be included in this.
That could be done too, yeah.
Can I ask about the downtown lighting?
Sure.
The trees, how, we're still halfway on that? What's happening? And the light heads, did we ever order the LED? light
Yeah,
heads?
so that's included with that. So the light heads, the the half of the shipment came. So they started installing them, and then, so immediately when they were received, we had our contractor, our electrical contractor started installing them. So everything we received thus far has been installed between the light posts and the higher light poles, the Cobra heads.
Great. I'm going to ask this for Christine Evron.
Mhm.
Are we painting the poles?
So we're still getting some guidance from the manufacturer of the poles on how to best do that and how to couple it with the installation. They haven't been, unfortunately, been very responsive. So this is something I have on my list every day with our DPW director who has.
Battling with them.
Yeah, that are battling with them. So this is something that we are following up with them
Some
on.
beautiful new, street lights,
Absolutely.
paint peeling on the poles. I hear you.
So speaking of Davis Johnson Park, COVID Memorial Park, and
Yeah, so for the Cobra Memorial Park, absolutely. So the bench for the Cobra Memorial was, well, of course, through the subcommittee, first backing up a little bit, the location was determined. For the memorial, we met with the subcommittee and also a couple of the DPW staff to assist with this. So the location was determined, and the bench made of recycled materials has been chosen and been ordered. So we placed the order for that along with the plaque. So those are a number of weeks from being delivered to the borough, but they have been ordered. And in the interim, the Public Works staff is prepping the site for landscape work and the landscape upgrades there for the various plants and plantings and flowers that we placed there. So that has begun, and we're looking forward to we'll get the materials and to fully put it together and have a.
okay, and a date for the landscaping, do we know when?
I could find out.
But hopefully by the end of the month.
I believe so, because they were hoping, they were preferred to do it in the fall.
Before.
Yeah,
the fall pickup.
I could find out. Have to take any other
That covers,
questions?
any other questions for Jimmy?
The opioid settlement,
The what?
the opioid settlement, does that go back into general funds or can we allocate it to the cap or?
I don't know if Susan's still on, but we've given it, I believe, to the PD to purchase eligible items, so it has gone to the police.
I do have a question on the building report. First, I want to welcome our new businesses. We do have a couple new businesses downtown, so that's wonderful. As far as the vacant properties, we still have a few businesses that are not being kept, broom swept, signs down, advertising themselves, and I do want that enforced. We do want to attract businesses, and if a new business comes in and next to it is a half-closed, not cleaned out business, it's really a shame. Criminals is a perfect example of a business that's just hasn't upkept itself. So I would like to reiterate to our code enforcers and to whoever's going to enforce the vacant property ordinance, please do so.
Okay.
The other thing is, and I'm going to request this again, on the Triangle property off of County, we have an old gas station light rusting on the corner. It's an incredible eyesore. I would like to see if we can get that down. I pass it every day.
No, that's.
On the corner, as you come down Highwood
Right,
and
so
County.
that's been there.
Got the triangle
years.
corner?
So that could actually be in the public right away, and we're not really aware of it.
It's where, the white
Yeah.
truck has been parked, Ollie. Right there, there's a huge old fashioned gas station light that's rusting. Take it down.
If you notice, the barrels are gone, the car is gone.
Yes, thank you. And I did see.
Seems very top
Mhm.
end. I don't know.
Mhm.
To the
What's the
south.
What's the question?
Outside of the vacant property. is becoming Slightly.
Overground.
Is there something we can do, should do, what is the requirements to make sure that it's gonna take years, a couple of years? How do we keep it as clean as possible before it starts getting?
Well, it was freshly done because I was there today and the weeds were mowed and things. Yes, I was just there. So at some point they have cleaned it. But we do need to make sure that any property similarly situated is maintained on a regular basis. Especially for
just
neighboring
to-
businesses.
Do you want, that I had contacted you about that a couple weeks ago, because the sidewalk had overgrown, and basically the long and short of it is someone owns that property. Whether there's something built there or not, they have to be maintaining it up until they decide to build on it. So that kind of ridiculous state that it had gotten into is pretty unacceptable. And I hope I don't have to keep contacting every couple weeks, because they own this property, and people have to be able to walk down the street and look at it and not look at a big eyesore. Yeah.
Jim. Okay, we'll close the administrator's report. We'll move on. We have everyone seen the letter from the senior center. Thank you, senior center. Wherever you are, thank you. We're glad it's working out well. Okay, we covered the library correspondence, and everyone's had a chance to read the dog and cat banning the sale in the pet stores, right?
Good.
Okay, this public comment time. All right, let's start with out there in Zoom. Are there any members of the public on Zoom that would like to make any comments? Feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand as you please. Omar, are we seeing anyone who'd like to make a comment out there?
See no hands, Mayor.
No hands? Okay. Public comment for people in the audience here. Young lady was first, and then Jeffy, come on up. Come on.
39 Leroy Street, President of the Chamber. Just that I'd like to appeal to the council on a ruling of expanding the street fair footprint. It's on Highwood. We had expected another small turnout of vendors. I don't know if it was the storms or what, but we have approximately 10 extra vendors on Saturday that we would really like to go back to the old footprint we had used, including J Street. I believe this is a safer layout because people coming down Highwood, going over to Wells Fargo where they park, and we know they park there and at the post office, just kind of wandered into the street from the street fair. If J Street is also blocked off, they have time to get to a sidewalk and realize they're not in the street fair. So we'd appreciate late permission on using that extra.
What's the date of the fair?
Next weekend.
Not this weekend, the following
Following
weekend, the
weekend.
15th and 16th.
If I may chime in, so Ms. Evron did make the request to me, and I did speak with the police chief about it, and the police chief had concerns regarding traffic impact to expand the footprint as requested, hence why the hesitation to approve the request as per the police chief's recommendation.
So he's concerned about traffic.
Traffic impact, yeah. Mhm.
Council comments, opinions?
I defer to our traffic experts on this. I mean, whatever they advise is what I'm gonna say would be appropriate.
But then how can she fit the 10 extra people?
Back to the microphone.
Because she's got 10 more people.
Every extra person that we have come to a street fair brings in extra people. They mail out to them, which is good for our businesses, especially for Ave Lume, a new baby wear
Mother
store.
and child
Mother and
program.
child apparel store. It's great for Beta to be on that block. That was where we did the street fair when we first moved over to Highwood, and it was a great success. There were no traffic issues, and that was pretty good. I really think that.
So I have a question for you regarding if there's other options, okay, to make it work, so you can fit the 10 vendors in. And do the other options, it's like air in a balloon, do the other options, if we squeeze here, do they upset other store owners who don't
Yes.
want it? And
The
is
bank
that,
would be where we would have to go.
and so that becomes problematic for those store owners?
It's not just this squeezing, it's what the public with the businesses as well. It's great that you get the flow of some of these businesses. So it's not that they want to do as much as we put with on creation.
To Jay.
it brings people there. That said,
Honestly, I feel like it's one weekend and it's diverting traffic for the one weekend. And and it was the original footprint. I think that maybe he can just reconsider that.
All right, so I think what we'll do is,
I'm perfectly fine with you doing this offline. I'm formally appealing. this.
fair enough, we understand. So we're gonna have another discussion with the police chief, just to look at different options and possibilities to see where we can go with this. And then we'll be in contact with you for sure. We probably won't be in contact with you before you contact us, but that's okay. I know, I have full expectations. Jeff, you want to come up, please? We just need your name and address for the record, please.
I came actually expecting to hear report on issues. Prior ordinance requires a report out of the succeeding meeting. So curious why that's not on the agenda. But everything's on the electronic municipal marketplace. I can see what details there. What I'm curious about is, shows on there that the bond was awarded on the 15th. However, discussed to the 7th. I know that the ordinance has to be posted for 20 days before it's effective. So it doesn't seem like the ordinance would be effective or anybody would authorize the offer, let them award the bond. So it's a very peculiar situation. It's the documents, I don't have the ordinance, I get it. But just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, so,
Sure. How are you going?
so, I know that.
Councilman, I advise you not to answer.
Right. I mean, that's a pretty clear concern. I mean, if you're not authorized until, let's say, hypothetically, the 25th, how are you even offering bond? 15.
It's a legal. Right.
Okay, all right, so,
We don't respond.
right,
It's dated,
We don't
it's dated on, it's dated on. So just curious, so, obviously the report is something that's required, so that's another question is, why is that not happening? So curious about that. Let's, of course, change all prior precedent, which is something. That was what I was most curious about, but another issue I didn't plan to talk about, but it's pretty obvious, it's pretty pressing. Or food break late. Yeah, I was approached a few months ago about a concern. Politics that I left about 10 years ago. They were talking about some of the things that were concerning about what's the concern they had was late violations of the Open Public Meetings Act. And ignored a lot of it, even though I didn't think it was possible. Ongoing changes to the agenda after it's posted. I find it very hard that this council would just ignore that. Borough attorney would be so reckless with that. I don't know that. I don't have evidence of that. So, you have evidence, they apparently monitor that. But another issue that's actually related to that, I was told about, is, Ben, you sat here this entire meeting online communicating with some, I don't know who it was, but this is a public meeting, it's right in the name. When I walked in, going back and forth on the keyboard, nodding your head as someone who could see you, watching the very first meeting I was here, someone who I didn't know at the time, who I learned the next meeting with the borough employee, it was very clear the two of you were going back and forth, communicating, intentionally suppressing information during a public meeting. So I don't know how you hear that, but these devices are intended to hide things from the public. Short of reading in, your text or whatever public record, I don't know how you do it, but I'm sure that they can tell you that all of that information is discoverable via open, which kind of puts you in a prisoner's dilemma. Because if you reveal it, then you know, potentially the actions of those supposed public meetings could be called into question. If you don't, then potentially you do damages. So again, I don't know how you solve it. I give you the courtesy. I could very easily at that first meeting file that over, put you in that situation. But I think it's something that is an open secret. It's definitely an open secret, and I kind of laughed it off when I heard about it. But I witnessed myself 3 months. So you know. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and up next.
Keep this short and sweet.
Okay, so thank you for coming tonight. We need your name and address first, please.
Of course, thank you. My name is Alyssa Frank. I'm the New Jersey State Director for the Humane Society of the United States. I live in North Bergen. I'm not sure if you want my address.
Sorry, say that again. Who are you with?
The Humane Society of the United States.
Very nice.
Just here to support ordinance number 22-22, which would prohibit the retail sale of dogs and cats in pet stores in Tenafly. I wanted to preliminarily thank Councilwomen Dr. O'Connor and Dayton for their support in moving this forward. And I'm just here for any questions, and this would be a great ordinance for the municipality. It's pro-business, proactive, and it will really properly address the concerns with puppy mills pet store pipeline. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay, any other public comment this evening? All right, we're going to close public comment.
Nope.
Oh, you didn't raise your hand. I didn't see it.
131 Oak Street, Tenafly. As the president of the Board of Trustees of the Senior Center, I just want to retaliate what Michelle said. Thank you so much. Not only the software package is great, it's making it real easy for them to go on forward as we get into next year and we get it going. Doing the fiber optic is really made a big difference for them. And it's freeing them to do more of these things and making this center better. We get more new members every day. So I just want to say thank you. I know you guys compete over the head of time, so I want to say thank you for the support that you give us. And I know you're working on a new center, and we really appreciate the library and all the other programs that you have. We really appreciate you supporting us with everything that you have going. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in tonight. Any other public comment? All right, we're going to close public comment. Council members have any questions regarding the resolutions? So we're going to pull T, right?
Yep.
Everyone focus? We're going to pull T off the list. Right?
Yep.
All right, any questions about the public hearings and the ordinances? Any questions about new business introduction of ordinance? All right, we're moving on to for the good of the order. Lauren, Seeds of Change, did you put this on?
I did.
I'm sorry, wait. Right, but we do the public hearing, we do the public hearing next. Yeah, we do a whole, absolutely. Yeah, we do a separate public hearing.
We did.
We do work session then.
We do work session then.
Oh, it's not attached. I'm sorry. Let me just go to it so I can read it. Excuse me. And I am looking at my text because that is where I have it. Or Omar, do you have it printed? The Seeds of Change thing? So I won't look at my text. You have the proclamation?
It was a proclamation. It was a.
It's an invitation.
Advertisement from the county.
Okay. I sent it to you on an email. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I want to get the wording right. So Bergen County holds a wonderful event to acknowledge those high school students in the county who are proponents of inclusivity and tolerance, and they do an award ceremony called Seeds of Change. And it's coming up, and we, as either the council or the school districts, and I can't speak for the schools, of course, can nominate students to be acknowledged at this. And Tenafly Pride has actually focused on a couple students that they would like to acknowledge at this award ceremony and for their contribution in our community. Some of them have been our speakers during the Pride Festival. Some of them are active members of our GSA clubs in our schools, and some of them just do community work in and around to make sure that our community is more tolerant. I'm sorry, I can't pull it up because apparently I'm now afraid to use my telephone. But basically, what this invitation does is really acknowledge our good work here in Tenafly to make our community open. And so I would like again, this is joint use. I would like the council with Tenafly Pride to recognize these students, but oddly, the school board has to give permission for them to attend. So Dan, do you know anything about this? Apparently the school has to approve for them to attend. It is during school hours. It's a morning of school.
So let's focus on what we're able to do, right?
So if the council is interested, what I would like to do is have either our liaison to joint use or our mayor. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Omar. Omar's pulling it up for me. It's Friday, October 21st from 8:30 to 2 in Bergen Community College. It is an LGBTQ. It says Youth Leadership Summit, and it is to recognize, again, like I said, really outstanding youths that are working on tolerance. And it's by our Board of Commissioners and our and Tedesco. So it's something I absolutely want us to contribute our participation in. Sorry, all jumbled. Essentially, I either need our council, mayor, or liaison to joint use to get permission from our schools so that Tenafly Pride can put in these students to this summit.
So do you have some sort of summary, like?
That's all I have, sorry.
That's what you have.
That's
So
all I have.
Omar,
I sent it to
can you
Omar.
send that to me? I guess the appropriate person would be the superintendent. Or send it to Jimmy and I. And Jimmy, why don't you reach out, please? I would recommend to the superintendent to get permission.
And it's unfortunately a very short turnaround. I just got this from Tenafly Pride, so my apologies for the rush. And again, Tenafly Pride, just so everyone knows, reached out directly and has not heard back from the schools and is asking us for assistance.
We'll reach out to the schools.
And thank you.
Yeah, so no problem. I'll take a look at the information. So the committee is asking us to appeal to the school to give them permission.
Right, these students need to miss half the school day.
Oh, understood. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Lauren, for that, Councilwoman Dayton. Can I get a motion to?
Mayor, just real quickly, old business, which we don't have.
No problem.
I want to thank Jimmy, sent me a series of towns as a follow-up to my comments at the last meeting, recognizing volunteers in town. I am going through them, and hopefully we'll be able to put together something that we can have a discussion at our next council meeting. But thank you, Jimmy, and quite a few towns do this.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to assist.
I don't think we have a committee.
So you gave like to make sure that
I would imagine that let the borough administrator make recommendations, and then he'll show us a spreadsheet of where it is now and what his recommendations of changes are. Yeah.
Will do.
Okay, could I have a motion to adjourn the regular meeting? I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so you want to take a 2-minute break?
I don't think so.
Should we debate the 2-minute break or just take it to?
No, let's go.
Let's
Okay, we'll take a 2-minute. In the meantime, I can start my
Yes.
meeting, okay? All right, okay. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. A salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag. Okay, Omar, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Dayton. Councilmember Grossman.
Here.
Councilmember Menon. Councilmember Michaels. Councilmember Dr. O'Connor.
Here.
Councilmember Park.
Here.
Mayor Zena.
Thank you. And just Councilwoman Dayton stepped away for a second. She'll be back in a day shortly. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of June 14th, 2022 and September 20th, 2022, both regular meetings?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Council, are there any revisions to the agenda?
Will the authorization, installation, of the
Yes,
PSCG can be pulling?
We're taking off R 22 dash, what is it, 345? Okay. All right. Public comments. Are there any members of the public here in the chambers who would like to speak on any matter whatsoever? Okay,
Yeah.
we have ordinances tonight, yes. Okay. Are there any members of the public out there on Zoom who would like to speak? No. Okay. Omar, you seeing anyone?
See no hands, Mayor.
Okay, so public comment time is closed.
Should just have the record reflect.
Yeah, let the
I'm
record
here.
reflect that Councilwoman Dayton has returned. Okay, could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda R 22-326 through R 22-344?
So moved.
Have a second, please?
Second.
Omar, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Dayton.
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman.
Yes.
Councilmember Menon.
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels.
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor.
Yeah.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Give me 2 seconds. That's Johnny Carson.
It's sad that you had to explain that.
It's what?
Sad that you had to explain that.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point. Okay. Okay, the first ordinance is 2217 solid waste management. Omar, could you please read the confirmation of publication of the ordinance and the title?
Sure. Ordinance number 22-17, an ordinance of the borough, which was published in the Friday, September 23rd edition of the Record. It is an ordinance of the Borough of Tenafly, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 19, Solid Waste Management of the Code of the Borough of Tenafly.
I would like to open the floor here in the council chambers for any public comments on ordinance 22-17 only. Yes, please come to the microphone.
Christine Evron, 39 Leroy Street. I have 3 questions. One was removing, it appears to me that you are allowing liquid oils and cooking fats to be added to the trash.
So
Is that true when you talk, you have now removed the exception for liquids in that first section of the ordinance?
So can I answer that? Because I was just communicating with Wendy about that earlier. Mr. Mayor, would that be?
Go
okay?
ahead, please.
Okay, so this ordinance is kind of silent as to how liquid would be disposed of, because I know we were talking before the meeting that you're concerned that now they'll put that with trash or possibly, no. There's nothing to that in this ordinance. It says we're gonna look into whether other ordinances of how it's to be disposed need to be strengthened. But we'll make sure that there's still a violation to disclose the liquid,
It looks to me like you're taking it, the ordinance first paragraph said accepting liquids and you're now the accepting. So liquids now can go in the trash.
No.
Let me, hold on a second. So to the extent, are not the disposal of restaurant oils that are used in cooking subject to like healthcare rules?
Right,
Yes.
that's what, this is a separate
So
ordinance.
the US municipality can't override a state standard.
Right.
So there are state standards related to proper
Disposal of
disposal as far as the.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was.
The borough of Tenafly, even if they wanted to, could not create an ordinance.
Perfect, that's wonderful.
And that's, and also just to echo that, like Wendy was saying, that if we had something else that needed to be strengthened, that's not this ordinance.
Correct.
That disposal, that's a different.
Okay, it just wasn't clear to me.
You
that
can
that
always,
was-
as a municipality, go beyond the state standards. You can't be less than the states.
Perfect. Next question was 2 trash cans per business. That's.
Say that again, to what?
There's a requirement of 2 trash cans per business, and restaurants, a trash can seems insufficient. Usually they have dumpsters. Businesses like Stone Cute, for instance, a very nice store where you can go and your children can learn to make, or you can learn to make an outfit, does not generate a lot of trash. It generates very, very, very little trash. It can, there be some, we don't want extra trash cans hanging around town.
Aren't they in the back?
They were all in the back.
They're in the back, but that's
So
still.
where is this language written? Where is this comment about 2 trash cans? No, that's okay. I'm not seeing it here in the ordinance.
I think if the business comes to us that it's a burden to have that additional
Right.
approach, we'll, recognize that, but for now, as a whole in the ordinance, I think.
I mean, it just seemed to me that some were very insufficient for restaurants. 2 trash cans is not going to do it for any restaurant.
I understand. They don't have
So it's
dumpsters
saying
behind them
here,
right now anyway.
If the language here is suitable receptacles.
Right.
Right, with, it has to hold over a certain amount, maximum number of weight. It's not saying that I'm seeing here quickly that you have to have 2 or any particular number.
So 19-1.2 sufficient. So the section, 1 receptacle for family units or and at least 2 such receptacles for restaurants, markets.
At least.
And again, I think if
But Stone
business comes
Cute
to
would
us,
be, yeah, more like a resident.
Store where you go and you think they don't really need a lot of trash.
All right, so we can't, hold on a second. We cannot get into the garbage needs of every individual store here.
Over-regulated.
Right, so the point is well taken, and it could be that it has to be edited, because you're right, some stores might not need it. We'll deal with that as we need to.
Perfect.
Okay, but thank you. Go ahead, if you have more.
And this was from before also, that residents of rental buildings, it's splitting the responsibility of trash cans between the landlord and the resident. It just seems to me that it would be better to have one or the other responsible for it, not that you're chasing, oh, it's his responsibility.
should both be.
Well, that's a private agreement between the landlord and the tenant, who's responsible for the garbage, not for the municipality, right?
Well, you say that both are responsible. We don't.
Negotiating that into a lease.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's,
Please.
yeah. That's not for us to get to them.
You say that both are responsible.
Yeah, but,
Yeah, we want all the garbage picked up. We don't care which one of them does it.
yeah.
That's between the landlord and the tenant.
It was who is providing the trash can. I just think it's simpler and more straightforward to say one of
There's
these.
an apartment, you can.
Yeah, that's between the landlord and the tenant though, right? Right. You're welcome. Anyone else here in the chambers who would like to speak? Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to make any public comments on ordinances 2217 only? Omar, are you seeing anyone?
See no hands, Mayor.
Okay, could I have a motion from the council, please?
So,
Oh, no, you've got to you've got to read the motion. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilwoman, Dr. O'Connor. Account,
Okay.
I move to pass and adopt on second and final reading ordinance 22-17, and that notice of same shall be published according to law.
could I have a second, please?
second,
Omar, could you please read the roll call?
Councilmember Dayton? Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Next is 22-18, non-represented salary ordinance. Omar, could you please read the confirmation of publication of the ordinance and the title of the ordinance?
Sure. Ordinance number 22-18, which was published in the Friday, September 23rd edition of the Record, It is an ordinance to amend section 1 of the ordinance 22-12 to fix the salary, wage, or compensation of certain management, administrative, civilian dispatchers, and part-time employees of the Borough of Tenafly in the County of Bergen and State of New Jersey for the calendar years 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023.
Okay, I'd like to open the floor for public comments on ordinance 22-18 only. Any members of the public here in the chambers that would like to make comments about 22-18 only? Okay, seeing none. Omar, would anyone on Zoom like to make comments on ordinance 22-18 only, please?
I see no hands, Mayor.
No hands. We're going to close public comment. Councilman Michaels, would you like to make the motion, please?
Sure. I move to pass and adopt on second and final reading ordinance 22-18, and that notice of same shall be published according to law.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Omar, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 22-21, amend chapter 2, administration of government. Omar, could you please read the confirmation of publication and the title?
Sure. Ordinance number 22-21, which was published in the Friday, September 23rd edition of the Record, is an ordinance of the Borough of Tenafly, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 2, Administration of Government, Article 2, General Organization of the Code of the Borough of Tenafly to create a new section titled Defense and Indemnification.
Okay, I'd like to open the floor for any public comments on ordinances, ordinance 22-21 only for members of the community in this chamber. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Okay, hearing and seeing none. Anyone on Zoom who would like to make comments on 22-21 only? Omar?
I see no hands, Mayor.
Okay, we'll close public comments. Councilman Menon, would you like to make the motion, please?
I move to pass and adopt on second and final reading ordinance 22-21, and that notice of same shall be published according to law.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Omar, could you please conduct a roll call?
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay. Omar, could you please read the confirmation of publication of ordinance 22-22, amend chapter 5, animal control?
Sure. Ordinance number 22-22. It was published in the Friday, September 23rd edition of the Record. It is an ordinance of the Borough of Tenafly, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 5, Animal Control of the Code of the Borough of Tenafly to prohibit the sale of dogs and cats by retail pet stores.
Okay, I'd like to open the floor for any public comments on ordinance 22-22 only. Are there any members of the public in the council chambers who would like to comment on this ordinance? No comments? Okay. Any members of the ordinance on Zoom that would like to make public comments? Omar, are you seeing anyone?
See no hands, Mayor.
Okay, we're going to close public comment. Councilwoman Dayton, would you like to make the motion, please?
I would, and thank you to the Humane Society for being here in support. I move to pass and adopt on second and final reading, ordinance 22-22, and that notice of same shall be published according to law.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, Omar, could you please conduct a roll call?
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Same.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Let's go on to,
Can we skip committee reports tonight? Ross,
what?
can we skip committee reports?
Yeah, if I have the consensus of the council, I'd like to push the committee reports to the next meeting in light of the hour.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I appreciate your indulgence. Give me 1 second to,
New business.
What happened?
You will be in absences.
um,
On the
He's the doctor who wants to do it now.
October 20th. Okay. Introduction of ordinances 22-20, non-represented salary ordinance governing body. Councilman Grossman, would you like to make the motion?
Actually, I'm going to pass this over to Councilmember Park. 'cause I-
Councilman Park, would you like to make the motion?
I move to introduce on first reading ordinance 22-20 and set the hearing for October 20th, 2022 at 8 PM or soon thereafter.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Omar, could you please read the title of the ordinance and conduct a roll call?
Sure. Ordinance number 22-20, an ordinance to amend section 4 of ordinance 22-12 to fix the salary, wage, or compensation of certain management, administrative, civilian dispatcher, and part-time employees of the Borough of Tenafly and the County of Bergen and State of New Jersey for the calendar years 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023.
Can you please conduct the roll?
Councilmember Dayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
No.
Councilmember Menon?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels? Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Very good. Next is going to be mayor's remarks. So the one mayor remark I have to make, which is very unhappy news, is former Mayor Joe Parisi of
Englewood Cliffs.
Englewood Cliffs passed away yesterday evening. I believe he was only 62 years old.
This morning, actually.
Yes, yeah, he was a great guy. His father was a great guy, mayor of Englewood Cliffs, both of them. So, think about Joe, Mayor Joe's family and your thoughts.
Our
He's going to
condolences.
be very sorely missed. Okay. Could I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have no close tonight.
Stepping 1, 2, where are you?